Good morning. The regular meeting of the Lee County Board of Commissioners is now in order. Reverend Ray Bowden is going to deliver our invocation and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
We'd like to thank you for this day and thank you for inviting us to come. The Lord is a very awesome God. And in His Word, He tells us in Luke chapter 11 and verse 17 that a kingdom divided or a nation divided shall not stand. And so I just asked Him about a word for today for you, this body. And He gave me a word about, it's one simple little word, it's called unity. Much is accomplished through unity. This nation is a mighty nation, and it's strong because of its belief in God and what He has, standards that He has set. And so my prayer for you today is that you will come together in one accord, in unity. Now I know we're a nation of diversity. We're a nation that many problems that we face and in this community. But I would ask you to ask Him for His guidance. Ask Him for His wisdom in the decisions that you make here today and in the upcoming times. Just remember Him. Let us pray. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be Thy name. Thy kingdom come, Thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For Thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen.
Thank you very much, Ray. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First item on the agenda is introduction of new employees.
Brenda has one.
He's getting it. I think Brenda's ready for you.
Brenda, you ready? Okay.
She usually is.
Chairman Hinks, members of the board, I'd like for you to meet Patricia Taylor. Patricia came to us from the Harnett County Child Support Office, and so she's one of our new agents. She was there about 2.5 years, and I might mention that she had an excellent collection rate. She has an excellent collection rate. Prior to that, she worked for 5 years in an attorney's office, I think. So obviously that legal base that she got in the attorney's office has, come over into child support. And when all of this was going on, when she was working full time, she was also going to Campbell University. And so she now has her BA in government. I welcome you to
Very good.
Lee County.
Patricia, we welcome you. Let me give you a little talk in here. And welcome aboard. You have joined the best county in the state.
I think so.
And Mike, I believe you have a new employee, do you know?
Yes, sir. Ask Susan to stand with me. Chairman Hinks, fellow members of the board. Oh, it is. You hear a little bit better that way. Sorry. I would like to introduce to you Susan Gomez. And Susan Gomez is our lead interpreter. And that means that she is the go-to person not only for the spoken translation in English and Spanish, but also written translation in English and Spanish. And Susan was living in New York City, and she met her husband-to-be, who was living in Miami. And after they were married and after their first child, they had heard good things about the Sanford area. So they relocated. They kind of split the difference. And they decided this would be a good place to raise their family. And so they've been here for 8 years.
Wow.
And in that time, she's worked with Haywood Moncure and our local hospital. They have a second daughter now, 20 months. And Susan has also finished her degree during that time at UNC in Greensboro. So I think that Susan is obviously very talented and has a lot of potential for public health in Lee County.
What's her degree at the UNC?
Degree is in. So
Very good.
You need it working here.
that's true.
I'm just kidding.
Just for us, that was an extra.
That's enough.
Just a full token for you to wear. Forward to Lee County. Appreciate all you've done.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
Okay, thank you.
David, is that it with the
Yes, sir.
new employees? Joe?
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, the Employee of the Month Selection Committee has selected Mr. Kyle Edwards with the Lee County Information Technology Department as Employee of the Month for November 2006. Mr. Edwards has worked for Lee County for 1.5 years and is currently employed as an IT Systems Network Administrator. In the short period of time that Mr. Edwards has been employed with Lee County, he has excelled in the areas of dedication to his work and dependability in critical situations. Mr. Edwards is an accomplished information technology staff member with exceptional troubleshooting skills. The solutions he provides rarely need revisiting, and he proactively works to prevent similar issues from arising elsewhere. He orchestrated the secure wireless system at the Lee County Library, allowing patrons to use their wireless devices in the library while adhering to CIPA, which is the Child Internet Protection Act requirements. He was also instrumental in securing network integration with the City of Sanford. This enabled the Strategic Services Department to be active on Lee County's network while supplying needed data to the city's servers. He was also instrumental in developing the first true IT work request system and uses this tool to manage the thousands of work requests that are received by the department. Mr. Edwards handles a tremendous workload, and he does so with a high level of professionalism and good humor. In the course of the past year, Mr. Edwards has closed over 800 work requests. The committee felt that based on the recommendation and Mr. Edwards' dedicated service to Lee County, he would make an ideal choice for Employee of the Month. Therefore, the committee respectfully asks that you join us in awarding Mr. Kyle Edwards Employee of the Month for November 2006.
Thank you. I'd just like to say that it really is an honor to be elected as Employee of the Month. And we get very busy sometimes, and it's hard to have true conversations with people, so you don't really know who you're affecting in positive or negative ways. So it's good to know that I'm making a positive effect in Lee County. And the people that I work with on a daily basis, my teammates, make it extremely easy to come to work each day and do that. And also the other employees of Lee County do the same. I've worked at several places in the past 6 or 7 years, and this is probably one of the first jobs I've ever looked forward to coming to work each day. So Lee County's a great place, and I plan on being here for at least 26 more years. So, and a lot of people ask me why my hair is so short. It's not because I try to pull it out each day. But I really appreciate it. It's a true honor.
Kyle, we appreciate your comments, and if you come up here just a minute. I have a slip here for a day off with pay. You can watch a movie from the movie gallery, and while you're doing that, you can have a pizza from Papa John's and some Coca-Cola donated by the Coca-Cola bottling company. Okay? And then let me give you this. First of all, this Star Award that you can keep on your desk and take home, because you truly are a star. Let me read this and to you, Employee of the Month. Lee County recognizes Kyle Edwards for going above and beyond the regular duties to be an outstanding employee. And it's signed by myself and County Manager. Congratulations again.
Thank you.
Are there any additional agenda items? We'll start on the right. Mr. Reeves?
I've got a request I want to make of the election office, but I can do that in commissioner's comments.
Okay. Commissioner Lyon? Yes. Commissioner Brown? Mr. Adams? Mr. Pascal?
Yes.
David?
Yes, sir.
Before we get to that consent, and I ask for approval, I would like to, if the board will allow, that pet beds for Lee County Animal Shelter, it had me down on the cover sheet as recommended approval. I'd like to just amend that with approval of the board, pending a favorable recommendation from the Board of Health on that issue.
And such was
Which we
received.
Which you did?
They did.
Oh, they did?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion that the agenda be approved as submitted then.
Make a motion.
The motion has been made by Mr. Brown. Any further discussions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion is adopted unanimously. Approval of the consent agenda.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Moved by Commissioner Adams that the consent agenda be approved. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The consent agenda is approved unanimously. We do have a proclamation for Farm City Week, and Bill, you have people you'd like to introduce, I believe.
Chairman Hinks and members of the board, I'm pleased to be here with you this morning on behalf of North Carolina Cooperative Extension and the Lee County 4-H. We've got two outstanding 4-Hers with us today who are going to give you a proclamation to start Farm City Week, and also give you an invite to the events of Farm City Week. We've got Dalton Kofer and Taylor Craig, and at the conclusion of their presentation, if it will be okay if they're dismissed after that, because they've got to get back to school. So just to let you know. So I'm going to go ahead and call up Dalton first.
Okay. Good morning again, Dalton.
Good morning. State of North Carolina, County of Lee, City of Sanford, proclamation. Whereas the American farmers literally help feed and clothe the world by producing a bounty of agricultural products, and whereas rich agricultural resources contribute to the health and well-being of our country and strength of our economy, and whereas the growth and development of Lee County and well-being of all its citizens are dependent upon cooperation and exchange between our rural and urban communities, and whereas the hard work and successful cooperation between rural and urban communities will continue to play a vital role in our future, and whereas the complexities of individuals' environments and divergence of their activities may lead to a widening gap of misunderstanding, and whereas misunderstanding must be eliminated if our American way of life is to endure, and whereas Farm City Week provides an unparalleled experience for farm and city people to become better acquainted. Now, therefore, we do hereby proclaim the period of November 17th through the 23rd to be Farm City Week, and call upon the citizens in rural and urban communities to acknowledge and celebrate the achievements of all those who, working together, produce and supply our community and nation with an abundance of agricultural products. We do further call upon all its citizens of this county and city to participate to the limit of their capabilities in the joint visits, seminars, and civic and social events associated with the successful Farm City Week in the City of Sanford and Lee County.
Thank you very much, Dalton. Bill?
Thank you. As you can tell, that's a mouthful that we gave Dalton there. He did a great job with that.
He did a great job.
Yep. Next, I'd like to call up Miss Taylor Craig.
Good morning again, Taylor.
Yeah, bring it down.
Good morning.
Morning. There you go.
Grab the top of it.
Okay. Good morning. I'm Taylor Craig. I am the president of the 4-H horticulture group, Maters and Taters. I'm 13 years old and I attend Wesley Middle School. The Farm City Week activities will be held at the McSwain Extension Center and are as follows. The 4-H Youth and Cotton Picking Contest was held on November 5th, 2006. The 4-H Art and Photography Contest will be held on November 20th, 2006. The Ladies' Luncheon will be held on December 6th, 2006. We would like to invite you to the Farm City Week banquet, which will be held on Monday, November 20th, 2006, at the Lee County Farm Bureau Auditorium at the McSwain Extension Center. There will be a social at 5:30 prior to the banquet, which starts at 6, and the meal is provided by Lemon Springs Ruritan Club. Advance tickets are $6. For more information about Farm City Week activities, please contact the Extension office at 775-5624. These events are sponsored by the Kiwanis International and the NC Cooperative Extension. I hope to see you all there. Mr. Chairman, will you please sign me a note so I can get into school?
I'll be glad to.
You're probably going to have to have some room to go along with that.
We did too with her.
It says, please excuse Taylor for being tardy. She had to speak at the county commissioners meeting this morning.
You have a timestamp over there?
Dalton, do you need one?
He's lucky. He's homeschooled.
Ah.
Herbs have learned to write.
There you go. Thank you. Susan, did you find out about the tickets?
Yes, they're on their way.
Okay.
Here and the proclamation.
Okay. Bill, would you like to, they have to go?
I'd just like to say thank you for allowing us to join.
Okay. Okay, they can leave anytime if they're
Mr. Chairman,
convenient.
before, I had these two kids in Sunday school. I taught them, and it was a great honor. And
In spite of they.
so I'm proud to have them here today.
Okay. That's great. Yeah, it's everything worthwhile. Public comments. Do we have
Holly Ann Rogers.
Holly Ann? 3 minutes, Holly.
The Reverend's comments about unity were certainly applicable. I just get into all those. Given the collaboration between Lee County Public Health and Central Carolina Community College. My name is Holly Ann Rogers. My address for your files is 504 Summit Drive, Sanford. I'm here on behalf of Central Carolina Community College. Our president, Dr. Matt Garrett, and vice president of instruction, Dr. John Slade, both had previous obligations but asked that I can convey their complete support of Lee County Public Health Department's request to expand patient eligibility for oral health services. In August 2005, the Lee County Board of Commissioners passed 2 resolutions supporting what was then only a concept called the Regional Center for Dental Services and Education. We included those resolutions in many of our grant funding proposals, along with letters of support and commitment from area dentists, state and federal elected officials, prospective students, and the health department directors in Lee, Moore, Chatham, and Harnett counties. We have secured nearly $800,000 in private foundation grants to date. We feel certain that success has been a direct result of the local commitment to this innovative idea. These grants are being awarded to help us A, effectively and efficiently share resources, including human, financial, and physical resources. B, provide educational opportunities to train the next generation of oral health care professionals and address the documented workforce shortages in Lee, Harnett, Chatham, and Moore counties. And C, to increase the number of oral health care services available to underserved populations by expanding current eligibility from Lee and Chatham County children only to all income-eligible patients, regardless of age or county of residence. Although the first CCCC students will not be ready to serve Lee County Public Health patients until January 2008, the college wholeheartedly supports the health department in its proactive efforts to expand eligibility immediately. We feel beginning this gradual transition now will give the Central Carolina Dental Center a head start on increasing the total number of services and will allow us to meet the requirements of our grants within the allotted time frames. On behalf of the college, I thank you for allowing me to share our support for this request. As the lead writer on many of the grants the college and the health department has received in the past 6 months, I would like to personally thank you for believing in this concept from the beginning and for providing us that critical foundation of local support in the form of those 2 resolutions in 2005. Thank you. And I will be around if you have any questions
Okay,
later.
does anyone have any questions they would like to ask Talia? Thanks for coming aboard. Thanks for coming. We now proceed to public hearings. First one, Tim Kane. See Tim here?
Tim's not here. We just need to conduct the public hearing.
Schedule values. Is somebody going to present them, or we do have a work?
Yes, sir. We do have a work session today at noon to discuss the details of the schedule of values. The schedule's been made available at the tax office, the library, and various other locations for public inspection. The purpose of today's hearing is procedural, to give the public an opportunity to comment on the document before it's presented for adoption consideration on December 4th.
Okay. I'd like to point out to the commissioners, after it is adopted on December the 4th, there is a requirement in the statute that after the Board of Commissioners approves the final schedule, standards, and rules, it shall issue an order adopting them, and that will be on the 4th.
Correct.
Notice of this order shall be published once a week for 4 successive weeks in a newspaper having general circulation in the county, with the last publication being not less than 7 days before the last day for challenging the validity of the schedule, standards, and rules by appeal to the Property Tax Commission. I just wanted to point that out. There is that'll be a procedure that'll have to follow the December 4th meeting. So that will ask for public comments if we...
Yes, sir. You need to...
Okay.
Yeah, just open the public hearing as
We
usual.
will open the public hearing for comments. Was there anyone here that would like to speak in favor of the schedule of values?
The light reading.
Is there anybody that'd like to speak in opposition to the schedule of values? I thought sure everybody would have paged through this and read it. Okay, we'll close the public comment section of the public hearing, and that will be the end of the public hearing concerning the 2007 schedule of values. The second item of public hearing is for the 2006 debt financing. Mr. Hall.
Mr. Chairman and members of the board, a public notice was published in the Herald on October 18th, advertising that the board would conduct a public hearing today on the proposed installment financing contract for the various projects that are being considered. Those projects are construction and equipping of a new public middle school, construction and equipping of a new multi-purpose room and therapy pool at Floyd L. Knight School, Phase 2 of the Tramway Park, which is the construction and equipping of various recreational facilities, renovations, repair, and equipping of various community college facilities, at Central Carolina Community College, and installation of a new roof and related improvements at the Dennis Wicker Civic Center. This will involve the expenditure of approximately $29,107,181 to $23,190,200 is for the new middle school. $2,178,816 are for the improvements at the Floyd L. Knight School. $1,200,000 for work at the Tramway Road Park. $2,138,165 for the Central Carolina College renovations, and $400,000 for the Dennis Wicker Civic Center roof rehabilitation. Of course, at this time, the statute requires, being in real properties involved in some of that, that we hold this public hearing, and you should invite those who are in favor and those who have any opposition to it to express their opinions at this time.
Okay. You've heard the comments by our county attorney, and we'll now open this up for public comments. Is there anyone present like to speak in favor of this 2006 debt financing? None in favor. Is there anyone that'd like to speak in opposition? No one in opposition. Ms. Troll, I think that will conclude our public hearing on this matter then.
Yes, sir, and the board can consider the other resolutions that are set out in the agenda later.
Right. That concludes our public hearings. We now go to new business. First item under new business, request to exercise alternate bids to middle school project. Mr. Smithman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As you're aware, we did request that the school board include some alternates so that we may see if there are any economies of scale in pricing for our Tramway Road Park Phase 2 project, and also ask them to include an alternate for a generator of sufficient size to power a county emergency shelter. They did receive bids for selected pieces of the Tramway Road Park items and for the generator. We are recommending that we reject all bids related to Tramway Road Park Phase 2, and that the board accept the bid alternate of $234,000 for the emergency generator.
Mr. Chairman, can I make a motion?
Yeah, we have a motion first.
Okay, I was going to make a motion, but I'd like to split it into two separate motions, and I'd go deal with one first, and that is that we reject the bids according to the recommendations of the county manager and get that out of the way, and then deal with the generator as a separate issue.
Okay. Motion has been made to reject the bids in accordance with the recommendations of the county manager. Any further discussion? No discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The motion is adopted unanimously. Commissioner Adams.
Well, just David, I've ever since I don't know who initiated the concept of this one generator, one emergency shelter fits all kind of situation. I'm still struggling to understand why we're looking at just one generator, one gigantic generator, rather than buying several smaller generators that can be moved around from place to place, because if this one location does become subject to some kind of emergency situation, then what are you going to do with people? I mean, if that school were to get hit by a tornado, I'm trying to imagine any kind of scenario that this would be necessary, and help me to understand why we're looking at just one, and why we're looking at such a large one.
Our concept is that this will be the county shelter. We will only have one. This facility is sufficient for all of our needs and has been designed to accommodate all of our needs, and is very suitable to any situation that may arise. The generator is sized to power all the facilities we would need in a major shelter operation.
And
we do have at our disposal, and as Lee County property, a mobile generator of how many kW? The mobile generator?
Well, we have to mount it on a trailer that actually got it.
Well, bigger than I thought. So we do have a mobile generator at our disposal to take to an East Lee or a West Lee if the primary shelter is unable to function.
Give me a situation that we would need. I mean, if we were to have a situation with Sharon Harris, and depending on prevailing winds and any number of other factors, it could affect that middle school, this location, then it would be unusable. And so you have a $250,000 generator that's completely unusable by the citizens of Lee, and rather than having 10 smaller generators that we could mobilize and move to any number of locations. I'm just putting all your eggs in one basket. It's the trouble I'm having here, and I'm trying to imagine any scenario. If you had a giant ice storm, you're going to have trouble getting people to the shelter. If you have a tornado, it could hit this shelter. I'm just trying to understand why we're spending $250,000 on one generator for one location.
We were instructed by the board to tell the board what it took to equip this facility as our primary shelter. So that is how we have responded. Again, I feel comfortable and confident that with a mobile generator of sufficient, or not sufficient, but significant size, that we have the ability to go anywhere we need to be as long as we have those emergency quick connects.
But this one's not a mobile one, correct? This is
This
fixed.
is not
This
a
is
mobile.
fixed.
This
And
is
that's what-
fixed on a pad. But the mobile generator that we have, if it's 500 kW, we can power anything we need.
Right, and for this amount of money, exactly, I agree with you. You could power anything you need, and for this amount of money, how many of those generators could you get? Kenny?
I haven't priced it, but you got to realize it's a 30,000 square foot.
I know.
So, depending on how much actually want to supply, we don't know how many generators we have to supply. There's also a wiring issue.
Sure.
It's difficult to pull 10 generators in to power a 30,000 square foot facility.
Just concerned of anything of magnitude that could affect our ability to get to and from this particular location. That's my only concern is something bad happens and your $250,000 generator is nothing more than a glorified doorstop when we really need that.
This generator, the 600 kW generator, is about 14 foot high.
Mm-hmm.
So that
It's a big one.
anything can be mounted, but that may be a little bit more difficult.
And don't you have to fire these things up once in a while? How often do you have to?
Once every 3 months.
You have to turn them up.
But this would be the main shelter for Lee County.
We only have one other school that's wired at the present time to facilitate a generator, right?
We have nothing wired this time.
Southern League.
No, sir.
That was part of the problem.
Southern League would be part of the project. It would be suitably wired to accept this.
So that's included. That we've already.
We had funds in this year's budget to put quick connects on East and West Lee middle schools. That's in this year's fiscal budget. So that will be
The new middle school wiring is part of their part of the construction cost.
So with this installation of this generator, we'd have 3 schools that would be able to have generator hookups, right?
correct. All 3 middle schools.
Which is what we were trying to accomplish, more than one site.
Yeah.
Right.
But with this, we'll just have the one big generator and then the one. But you already have the mobile one, correct?
We have one at General Services that's not been mounted on the trailer. Has no connects to it, so all that stuff. So that would be one generator we would have. As our but the issue again is the wiring of the schools. That's going to be get them in that
Right.
and what can we run in those schools?
But if you had 4 separate schools that were wired and you had two mobile generators, you'd have more redundancy and more ability to deal with people, would you not? Okay, and why was that not the recommendation, rather than this one giant fixed asset?
I think the intention was to go, actually try to get a bid from the contractor doing the middle school. The only other way to do that would have to be to reject that alternate and us go out for bids on their own, and maybe a little bit higher. I did get a budget price of about $210,000, just a budget price just for the generator, and that would not include anything next to it, and I understand that's about $50,000.
do you feel we should have more redundancy, or do you feel this is the best option?
I feel right now this may be the best option. I would like to have one at least stationary, and hopefully in the future get this other one mounted so we can actually move around.
Kenny, is there any way that once that generator is mounted and everything, is there any possibility of Southern Lee being tied into it? I mean,
That's our intent. We have not gotten prices on when we can actually Southern Lee yet, and we've got to see exactly what we can run over the house wire. But that's the intent, is to have something in the county with this budget, but not a 600 kW generator.
Right.
When you go from a 500 to a 600, you go up tremendously in size.
now 600 is something like, say, the Army would have, which is diesel.
This is electric.
The what?
I'm speaking about.
No, it has to be
powered by something
diesel.
other than that.
I'm talking of a
We
portable.
actually had a chance to go with a gas generator, natural gas, which would be a whole lot more expensive. Yes, it is powered, fueled by diesel.
I'm still trying to picture the disaster that makes this work, but I'm not going to belabor it. Thank you for your time, Kenny. And
I don't think there are any things that we can do that will offset what disasters can do.
Oh,
I mean, the
I know.
levees prove that. But let me ask you, on the 600, would the 500 run that same facility?
No, it was actually would have to decrease in the square footage of the facility.
Well, just so I'm clear, I thought initially we were basically concerned about building a new school, at least I was, and making sure that we had some way to hook up a generator for a county facility, which is one of the things that the federal government is going to require, that a county have a shelter. That's all we were doing. The cost of it is not something we could have dictated. We just sent out for bids, and that's what we come back with. It may not be the best idea, but it's better than having no plan at all.
Well, I thought one of the plans that we had was to look at the possibility of having one on reserve and looking at what those yearly costs would be, knowing that you have to, I can't remember, but it seems like to me it was in the tune of 20 or 30,000, or maybe it was 15.
Gregory Poole.
Huh?
Gregory Poole in Raleigh.
We were talking about 24,000 a year.
Yeah, what we talked
Just to
about
have
was
it on-
even
Just to have, okay.
even having it reserved was
And
not
was
very
that this
reserved.
size
couldn't
or
get
is
it
that the
down
small
here.
size?
Yeah, well, it was smaller, and the problem was there was no guarantee we could get it here.
Right.
I
If you had the
think
right
that's where we
disaster, you're not getting it.
where we left that
20 inches of
discussion.
snow.
We had the right one, we're not going to have anybody to worry about.
Right. So, you know, if you had all that information, then you were comparing all these things, I think this one would still win out.
Well, in the past, I don't believe we've ever had a situation where we've opened more than 2 shelters. And in many cases, we just opened one. And like Mr. Reeves indicated, you don't know what the disaster is going to be. We can't foretell that. In the case of Sharon Harris, of course, that would be a situation that would affect a lot of folks. And we might have people coming in from up north of us to be in that shelter. So the 30,000 square feet shelter would be beneficial to handle more people.
Okay, I request a motion that we accept alternates G6
So
and
moved.
E8. The motion has been made by Commissioner Reeves to accept the alternates G6 and E8. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion is adopted unanimously. Resolution to assign budget to 2006 COPS Financial Capital Projects, Mr. Smitherman.
Yes, sir. You'll find in your supplemental agenda a revised resolution that we're requesting you to approve today. The change is located in the now be it resolved line 1, where we have added $234,000 to account for the generator you just exercised through bid alternate. So what we're asking you to do today is set a project budget for each of the 5 projects listed, so that we can communicate to the constituent agencies the anticipated funding amount for each.
Are these figures the same as Mr. Hoyle read to us?
Except for the $234,000 addition.
Yeah, I read the amended.
Did you? Okay, thank you. Thank you. So yes, they are.
Oh, you read this?
That's what you read as amended.
Is there anyone in the, that's joined us today that would like a copy of this resolution?
Going into this.
Anybody want to come?
That should be.
Yeah.
There you go, Bill.
I'll get it to him.
So they came in above 17.5.
Does every member of the board have a copy of the resolution to assign budget to 2006 COPS Finance capital projects? Excuse me. Does everybody have a copy of this? I have a motion to approve, entertain a motion to approve the resolution.
With the addition of the 234,000.
That's already in there.
Oh, I didn't
On this,
see it.
In your supplement.
on your supplement.
I didn't get that.
Under new middle school.
Somewhere in here. Here it is.
I make a motion to be approved.
Motion has been made to approve the resolution to assign budget to the 2006 financed capital projects. Any further discussion? A motion made by Commissioner Bryan.
I've got one question.
I have a question too.
I want to ask the,
Commissioner Reeves.
is the school board going to hire a clerk of the works or something along those lines? Or do you know?
Construction manager, project
Whatever you
manager.
want to call it.
My understanding is that's part of the agreement with Height and Associates, or Height Associates.
The chairman is here.
The chairman's here. Bill, could you,
Yes, I'll address that, Mr. Reed. In the most recent construction project at Southern Lee, we found a very capable person in our own organization that will act as the owner's representative through the architect, and that is Jerry Pittman. And Jerry is here with us today, but we're very confident in Jerry's abilities with a construction project of this size. In fact, I give much credit to Jerry for working with J.M. Thompson and Bonus in getting us in the school with a minimum date to open that school. Date that was in the contract. So I am very confident that Mr. Pittman will do a fine job to lay us on between we, the county, and the Board of Education, and the architect and the contractor.
Oh, okay, forgive me for not knowing. Is Mr. Pittman staff or?
He's staff.
Regular staff, not under,
Regular staff.
not separate contract.
anything else?
Are we getting a copy of his reports to you, or?
Yes, you will be notified of reports as we will.
Thank you.
This will be very much a joint venture between the Board of Education and the county commission.
I have a question.
Oh, what page just,
Okay.
Mr. Reeves, is that,
Yes.
Chad had a question.
Well, no, I mean, mine's more a point than a question, is that in light of the recent success of the Wake County bond and looking at the disproportionate amount of debt that our county's taken with respect to certificates of participation as opposed to bond debt, I'm just hoping, because we knew this was coming when the first bricks hit the ground for Southern Lee, that future debt issuances will make some attempt to include the public, because bypassing the public over time, I think, is not a healthy thing for any board to do. But these are necessary, and I recognize that and will support it, but I do hope that future boards will take that into consideration. That's all.
Ms. Stevens?
I would just like to know the procedure for change orders and how that comes about.
Again, Ms. Stevens, any necessity for a change order will be initiated at the level of the architect and Mr. Pittman. Before a change order will be approved, Dr. Atkinson and the board, particularly the Facilities and Technology Committee, chaired by Mr. Bernardi, would review any change order.
Is there a threshold, excuse me? Is it?
It's gonna be a pretty minimal threshold. We've spent so much time with Mr. Bernardi's leadership, that we anticipate very, very little change orders involved in this project.
How many did you have on Southern Lee, Jerry?
14, I think it was.
14?
Yes, sir.
What was the largest amount, do you recall?
35,000, I think it was.
Did you have any change orders that went the opposite way, costing less?
Yes.
How many? Oh, one.
One.
But one of them was a good measure, I'm sure. Okay, 3. What was the maximum on the change order, remember? Total amount spent?
35,000 was the max, I think.
No, that was one item. He's asking for cumulative.
14. Yeah, 14.
Roughly.
Well, if you don't have it now, you can send it to us, but.
A lot of those change orders was things that was taken out of the project and put back in at the last, bid of the project.
Okay. Had to do with contingency funding of some of the items that you considered necessary.
And you got 400,000 in contingency this time?
We can make that book available.
I see enough book, Ms. Ashton. Thank you. I just wanted the total, that's all.
Okay, any further questions? Do you have anything else? Further question? The motion has been made to approve, to assign the budget 2006 finance capital projects. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion is adopted unanimously. The next item is resolution approving installment contract financing for public school projects, public improvement projects, and community college projects. Lisa Minter. Mr. Roy.
You'll note on page 46, bond counsel has furnished a resolution which he said was read to the board and the public. It's a resolution approving installment contract financing for the public school projects, public improvement projects, and community college projects in an aggregate principal amount up to $31,400,000, and the execution and delivery by the Lee County Development Corporation of certificates of participation related thereto, authorizing the execution and delivery of related documents in connection therewith, and providing for certain other related matters. Whereas the Board of Commissioners desires to approve a proposed plan of financing in an aggregate principal amount of up to $31,400,000, which plan would involve the entry by the county into an amendment to an existing installment financing contract, as so amended, referred to as the contract, with the Lee County Development Corporation, which will be hereafter referred to as the corporation, pursuant to North Carolina General Statutes 160A-20 as amended, the proceeds of which would be used to pay all or a portion of the cost of I, acquiring real property, constructing and equipping new public school facilities, renovating and improving existing public school facilities and related improvements, 2I, constructing, renovating, improving, and equipping community college facilities and related improvements to be located at Central Carolina Community College, and 3I, acquiring real property, constructing, and equipping new improvement facilities, renovating, improving existing public improvement facilities, and related improvements, collectively the 2006 project. And under said contract, the county would secure the repayment by the county of the monies advanced pursuant to such contract by granting a security interest in and lien on all or a portion of the 2006 project. And whereas, as a part of said plan of financing, the corporation will execute and deliver certificates of participation in an aggregate principal amount not exceeding $31,400,000 to finance the advancement of monies to the county pursuant to the contract between the county and the corporation. Whereas there have been submitted to this meeting draft forms of the following documents, known as the financing documents with respect to the financing for the 2006 project. 1. Amendment number 1 to the installment financing contract, proposed to be dated as of December 1st, 2006, and referred to as the first contract amendment between the county and the corporation as a counterparty, pursuant to which the corporation will advance money to the county for the cost of the 2006 project and related financing expenses, and the county will agree to make periodic installment repayments to repay the money so advanced with interest. 2. Supplemental indenture number 1, proposed to be dated as of December the 1st, 2006, and referred to as the first supplement, supplementing and amending the indenture of trust dated as of January the 1st, 2004, between the corporation and First Citizens Bank and Trust Company as trustee, hereinafter referred to as trustee, pursuant to which there will be executed and delivered Lee County Development Corporation certificates of participation, known as the Public Facility Projects, Series 2006, and referred to as the 2006 certificates, the proceeds of which will be used to advance the monies to the county under the first contract amendment. 3. A preliminary official statement to be dated on or about November 20th, 2006, and referred to as the preliminary official statement, which is supplemented with certain pricing and other omitted information, is to be the official statement to be dated on or about December the 6th, 2006, and hereafter referred to as the official statement, pursuant to which the 2006 certificates are to be offered and sold to the public. 4. A certificate purchase agreement, including the exhibits attached thereto, proposed to be dated on or about December the 6th, 2006, and referred to as the purchase contract between the corporation and Davenport and Company, LLC, on its own behalf and as a representative of the other underwriters named therein, and referred to collectively as the underwriters, pursuant to which the underwriters agreed to purchase the 2006 certificates for sale to the public. 5. A First Amendment to lease agreement, proposed to be dated as of December the 1st, 2006, and hereafter referred to as the lease amendment between the county and the Lee County Board of Education. And 6. A construction and acquisition agreement, proposed to be dated as of December the 1st, 2006, and referred to as the construction agreement between the county and the Lee County Board of Education. And whereas the obligations of the county to make installment payments or other payments pursuant to the contract shall constitute limited obligations of the county payable solely from currently budgeted appropriations of the county, and shall not constitute a pledge of the faith and credit of the county within the meaning of any constitutional debt limitation. And whereas no deficiency judgment may be rendered against the county in any action for breach of a contractual obligation under the contract, and the taxing power of the county is not and may not be pledged in any way directly or indirectly or contingently to secure any monies due under the contract. And whereas the Board of Commissioners desires to approve the financing documents and to authorize other actions in connection therewith. Now therefore be it resolved by the Board of Commissioners as follows. Section 1. All actions taken by and on behalf of the county to date the effectual proposed financing, including the selection of the underwriters and Helms, Mullis, and Wicker, PLLC, as special counsel, are hereby ratified, approved, and authorized pursuant to and in accordance with the transactions contemplated by the financing documents. Section 2, the acquisition, construction, and equipping of the 2006 project, financing thereof, and the granting of security interest therein, all as provided in the financing documents referred to in this resolution are hereby ratified and approved. Section 3, each of the first contract amendment, the purchase contract, the lease amendment, and the construction agreement is hereby approved in substantially the form submitted to this meeting, and each of the chairman of the Board of Commissioners or the county manager is hereby authorized to execute and deliver each of those documents in the name and on behalf of the county with such changes, insertions, or omissions as the persons executing such a document may approve, including but not limited to changes, insertions, or omissions related to 1I, the timing of the execution and delivery of the 2006 certificates, and 2I, obtaining a policy of municipal bond insurance with respect to the 2006 certificates, their execution and delivery thereof to constitute conclusive evidence of such approval. The clerk to the Board of Commissioners is hereby authorized to affix the seal of the county to each of said documents and any other related documents as may be appropriate, and to attest the same. Section 4. The first supplement, including the form of 2006 certificate, is hereby approved in substantially the form submitted to this meeting with such changes, insertions, or omissions as appropriate, including but not limited to changes, insertions, and omissions related to obtaining a policy of municipal bond insurance with respect to the 2006 certificates as the representatives of the county executing the first contract amendment may approve the execution and delivery of the first contract amendment to constitute conclusive evidence of such approval. The Board of Commissioners hereby approves the sale of the 2006 certificates by the corporation in an aggregate principal amount not to exceed $31,400,000.
Mr. Oil?
Yes, sir.
Would you like some relief on reading this?
I'll be glad to
Whatever
chip
you
in.
want.
Huh?
Go ahead, Jerry.
Okay. Section 5. Each of the preliminary official statement and the official statement in substantially the form of the preliminary official statement submitted to this meeting is hereby approved in substantially such form with such changes, insertions, and omissions as appropriate, including but not limited to changes, insertions, or omissions related to obtaining a policy of municipal bond insurance with respect to the 2006 certificates, and the use thereof by the underwriters in connection with the public offering and sale of the 2006 certificates is hereby authorized. Each of the chairmen of the Board of Commissioners or the county manager is hereby authorized to execute and deliver in the name and on behalf of the county the final official statement in substantially such form with such changes, insertions, and omissions, including but not limited to changes, insertions, or omissions related to obtaining a policy of municipal bond insurance with respect to the 2006 certificates as the person executing the final official statement may approve, the execution and delivery thereof to constitute conclusive evidence of such approval. Section 6. Each of the chairmen of the Board of Commissioners, the county manager, and the director of finance are authorized to approve all details of the financing of the 2006 project, including without limitation the amount advanced under the first contract amendment and the aggregate principal amount of the 2006 certificates, which shall not exceed $31,400,000. The maturities, the principal amounts, and the interest amounts of the installment payments and the 2006 certificates, which interest amounts calculated with respect to the 2006 certificates, shall not exceed 6.7% per annum on a true interest cost basis. The prepayment terms and prices, which shall not exceed 103% of the principal amount being prepaid, and the underwriter's discount exclusive of any original issue discount, which shall not exceed 2% of the principal amount of the 2006 certificates. Execution of the first contract amendment by the chairman of the Board of Commissioners, the county manager, shall conclusively evidence approval of all such details of said financing. Section 7. The chairman of the Board of Commissioners, the county manager, the director of finance, the clerk of the Board of Commissioners, and the county attorney are hereby authorized to take any and all such further action, including approval of any modifications to the financing documents, and to execute and deliver for and on behalf of the county such other documents and certificates, including without limitation agreements with securities and depositories financing statements, appropriate tax certificates and agreements, and other documents and agreements, including repurchase agreements relating to the investment of the proceeds from the execution and delivery of the 2006 certificates in the first contract amendment, as they may deem necessary or advisable to carry out the intent of this resolution and to effect the financing pursuant to the first contract amendment and the other financing documents. The clerk of the Board of Commissioners is hereby authorized to affix the seal of the county to such documents and certificates as may be appropriate and to attest the same and execute and deliver the same as may be needed. In addition, said officers are hereby authorized to cooperate with the underwriters in preparing and filing such filings under state securities or blue sky laws, including special consents to service or of process, as the underwriters may request and as the chairman of the Board of Commissioners, the county manager, or the director of finance shall determine. Section 8, the county covenants that, to the extent permitted by the Constitution and the laws of the state of North Carolina, it will do and perform all acts and things to comply with the requirements of the Internal Revenue Code of 1986, as amended the code, in order to assure the interest paid with respect to the 2006 certificates will not be includable in the gross income of the owners thereof for purpose of federal income taxation, except to the extent that the county obtains an opinion of bond counsel to the effect that noncompliance would not result in interest with respect to the 2006 certificates being includable in the gross income of the owners of the 2006 certificates for purposes of federal income taxation. Section 9, this resolution shall become effective immediately upon its adoption, thereupon, upon motion of the commissioners. Bob, we'll start. I'll make a motion.
Okay, we need a motion to approve the.
I'll second.
Okay. Thereupon, motion of Commissioner Adams, seconded by Commissioner Brown, the foregoing resolution entitled Resolution Approving Installment Contract Financing for Public School Project, Public Improvement Projects, and Community College Projects in an aggregate principal amount of up to $31,400,000 in the execution and delivery by the Lee County Development Corporation and of certificates of participation related thereto, authorizing the execution and delivery of related documents in connection therewith, and providing for certain other related matters was.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion is adopted unanimously.
Adopted and passed by the following vote. Ayes, 7. I, Gaynell Lee, Clerk to the Board of Commissioners for the County of Lee, North Carolina, do hereby certify that the foregoing is a true copy of such.
After it's passed, that gets.
Okay, there we go.
That's it.
Hope
nobody has any questions
list you
about
as the
it.
one who introduced.
Yes.
Let's go briefly, what is the blue sky rule?
It's about how we cover this in our official statement. In other words, blue sky law protect people from fraudulent puffing of stocks and things of that nature.
All right.
It's kind of a compliance, Securities and Exchange compliance issue.
Mr. Earl, this also includes a resolution which takes care of the sales tax issue.
Yes. This board went through the same process with the 2004 financing.
Right.
And at that time, school boards had the right to claim certain sales tax refunds, which we took advantage of. Since that time, the General Assembly has removed from the school boards the authority to recover all of their all of the sales tax on purchases in a project like this. So this procedure has been altered in our construction agreement with them. Ms. Minner has checked with the Department of Revenue, and as long as we are a party to the construction contract, we pay the bills, and we own the property. The county can file for the sales tax refund, and the construction and acquisition agreement that we had with them on the other project has been amended to include the county will sign on the construction contracts with them in order that we be able to recoup that sales tax refund.
Thank you very much. Okay, that concludes that item C. Ms. Follett, Tony, request from Habitat for Humanity to waive landfill fees for a particular project. Good morning, Tony.
Morning. Morning, Chairman Hinks and Board of Commissioners. My name is Tony Lett, and I'm currently serving as president of Sanford Area Habitat for Humanity. Habitat for Humanity has been operating in Lee County for over 18 years. Our mission is to build homes for citizens of Lee County who would otherwise not be able to afford their own home. We've taken many properties we have received through donations and purchases and have turned those homes into income-producing properties for the county. Our only source of funds is donations from private individuals, from churches, from civic organizations, and from our in-house fundraising projects, as well as 2 facilities that we operate, the Habitat for Birds store and the Habitat Home store. We received no government funds. We built a home at the corner of 6th and North Avenue a couple of years ago, and since that home has been occupied, we found out that there's some solid waste present on that home that when we constructed the home did not seem to be a concern, but since then there have been some concerns raised about the safety of that solid waste that's located in that on that home site. We contacted the North Carolina Department of Environment and Natural Resources, and in the person of Mr. Robert Hearn, he visited that home site and did some extensive testing there and determined that that solid waste did need to be removed. So we contacted Mr. Joe Cherry with Solid Waste of Lee County, and with Mr. Cherry's help, we estimated that the amount of material that needs to be removed from there could be anywhere from 30 to 60 cubic tons. The cost to put that into the county landfill, which has been through Mr. Cherry, it has been approved. The county landfill has been approved to accept that waste. It's common waste that would normally be accepted at the landfill, so it's not anything outside of the ordinary. The cost to do that, landfill fees might run from $1,000 to $2,000. So we're currently, we have built 29 homes in Lee County. We're currently raising funds to try to build house number 30, and our funds are hard to come by, so we're just respectfully requesting that the commissioners waive these landfill fees so that our funds could be used to build homes for deserving families rather than to dispose of this waste.
How many cubic tons?
I'm sorry, what? I got it right here. 30 to 60 cubic tons of dirt.
Okay, I was going to say, what's a cubic ton?
I'm reading your letter, so
Okay.
it's cubic yards.
Whew, okay.
Excuse me. There you go. It does sound like a lot less, doesn't it?
Okay.
30 to 60. And it,
30 to 60 tons.
it is
It's not
tons.
cubic anything. It's okay.
It's approximately 220 to 200.
Who's moving who's going to move?
We're
Who's responsible
taking
for
care of
moving?
the responsibility of moving that. We've got some donated equipment because we are a nonprofit. We've contacted some friends of Habitat, and the trucking and the equipment and the manpower will be donated. So we've made our own arrangements on getting it done. So we're just trying to save money for Habitat in getting these fees.
When you guys
waived.
build a home, I'm going to ask some questions that are going to seem uncomfortable.
No
They're
problem.
not. I'm a 501c3 fan. I just have trouble when governments and 501c3s get in bed together. When you guys build a home, who pays for the disposal of construction and demolition and all that stuff?
We do.
So you normally cover that, and this is a situation where the
Well, normally we don't have anything to this volume that we have to get rid of. So
understandable.
most of our labor is donated. It's done through volunteer labor. The materials, obviously, we pay for the materials that are used to construct the house, and some of the professional labor we have to pay for, but much of our labor is donated. So like the grading, the site work that's done, we would have to pay for that, professionally done, normally just the common site work you do in the construction of a home. But this is just a very unusual case that's going to run into, for us, it's a substantial amount of money, and we're just requesting that we've gotten a lot of assistance from some contractors in Sanford that have agreed to come and do it because it's Habitat to provide the dump trucks and the equipment and the manpower to do it at no charge.
Now, David, when we traditionally have given money to 501c3s like the Temple Theater, is that considered a donation?
Special appropriation.
It's a donation to those organizations, government donations to 501c3s.
Yes, sir.
In this case, how would it be considered? Just a waiving of fees?
We're not giving
Yes, sir.
them anything. It's just,
It'd be a waiver.
Huh?
we're not giving them anything.
I know. Well, I mean, still, the cost has to be covered. The cost has to be covered by the county. So it's essentially. But anyway, I admire what you guys do, and it's just one of those situations. So I'll move to approve. But this is not.
Motion has been moved.
It's okay. With one stipulation, I want to be sure the state approves this. I don't want to pull a Governor Hunt, move it, have to go move it again.
Mr. Hearn is going to be on site. We have contacted him. He will be on site to make the determination whether we've moved enough or we haven't moved enough.
Okay.
And then, as I say, we've already contacted the county landfill, and it is appropriate material that can be deposited there. So it will be deposited in an appropriately licensed facility. So there should be no question about, did we put it in the right place, do we have to move it again?
Well, I've made the motion, but I do have a concern, and that is that why is there no responsibility of the previous tenant who apparently King Roofing apparently left? This material is residual from their occupation of the territory, correct?
Well, we're cooperating with Mr. Ainsley, and he is helping us with some of his
To remove it.
manpower and some of his equipment to remove it.
Because my concern would be if in the future when people have an issue, they donate you property to get out from under doing anything, and then the taxpayers have to assume responsibility for their ways.
We're like most things in life, we learn by our mistakes, so we're going to be much more fervent about checking the sites. We do check the sites for buildability. If somebody comes to us and offers us a piece of property, we go check it for buildability. If it is not a suitable building site, if there's going to have to be too much site work done, we'll just respectively refuse it.
It's
And
not,
in
not
this
the good
case-
things, it's those bad things that
Right.
come up
In
and
this
get us.
case, it was probably, in hindsight, we should have looked closer at the piece of property, but at the time we looked at it, we didn't think it was a concern, just on our personal judgment. And in hindsight, we probably should have brought some experts in and checked that out and probably not have accepted that donation.
Well, depending on when it happened, it may not even been against the law back then.
Well, that's true. I mean,
So,
when
conditions
the material appeared on the site could have probably been as much as 30 or 40 years ago.
Correct.
Wow.
You don't have
And
the
so
same
it's
rule.
not something that was done recently.
And right now, it's just a grassed area with some weeds and
If you or I would walk over that site, Mr.
I saw
Lamont,
it
it would
the
look
other day.
like an old driveway that had been started coming up. So basically what it is asphalt material that's used for flat top roofing. And some of that asphalt material that King Roofing stored there just over the period of 40 or 50 years just sort of accumulated there. So it looks like asphalt. So if you and I were to walk over a piece of property that had asphalt on it, which my house has a driveway that has asphalt on it, the streets we drive to work have asphalt on it, would you think that would be a hazardous material? So there was a question raised by the
Petroleum-based,
homeowner. There was a question raised by the homeowner, so we did bring Department of Environment and Natural Resources in, and they said, well, we think it needs to be removed. So we're
Thank
making
you.
those.
Thanks,
Okay,
Chairman.
motion has been made to approve the request.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question as well.
Okay, to waive the landfill fees for the project. Ms. Stevens.
I would just like to know what Joe Cherry has to say about this, if he's got any comments, and also with the amount of tonnage that is coming on, what's that like in your workload of a day or a week or whatever?
It's on average for the work. I mean, we take in about 35 tons a day on average throughout the year, so it's
Okay. So you don't have any comments other than this is normal way of life?
It would be the same if somebody was paying for it, right? Okay, then. Easy.
Okay,
He
and-
might even get to pave his driveway in the.
And I was just going to make one more comment, I'm sorry, that like Chad, I do admire what Habitat does, and I've participated in some of those houses, so I know what you all put into it and the families that are recipients. But at the same time, I know Joe has tried to get some volunteer help for some initiatives that the county has where we're trying to clean up. So I'm hoping that maybe the Habitat will help us when we have a cleanup day.
Sure.
That's a good suggestion.
I'm certainly glad to see Commissioner Adams soften his position on some of these things.
Not softening.
Well, you have. I can remember
This is different than a straight
I got
up
a better
donation.
memory than you think. But anyway, I'm glad to see it, and I'll certainly support it.
Any further discussion on the waiver of fees? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you very much.
Thank you,
The
Commissioner.
motion has been
We appreciate it very much.
unanimously.
If it's any consolation, I wonder what we're sitting on.
That's true.
This old hospital.
Mr. Andrews, Lee County Fire Advisory Board update.
We're giving money to fund this. We continue to taxpayers pay for that to clean it out. And we can't reach this for they have to pay it. That's what's wrong.
That's right.
Chairman Hinks, members of the Board of Commissioners, thank you for allowing the Fire Advisory Board to come before you this morning. As I mentioned during our last presentation on September the 18th, the Lee County Fire Advisory Board was working on developing a list of goals and objectives for fire service in Lee County. This morning I'd like to bring the Board of Commissioners up to date on where we are in the process. Over the last 4 months, the Fire Advisory Board has been working closely with the Lee County Fire Chiefs Council. The Fire Advisory Board felt that before we can make an informed decision on the merits of a single service district and a unified tax rate, we need to look at where fire service was and where we wanted to take it to. And as part of that, we felt like we needed the people who deal with this every day and the fire chiefs. So we've asked them to join us, and we've had very productive meetings over the last 2 or 3 months. In your package, you should have an attachment entitled Attachment A. I'm briefly going to run through the 6 goals. I'll be glad to answer any questions. Our first goal we set was to bring unrated properties within Lee County inside a rated fire district. And as you can see, there's 3 objectives to do that. Our second goal, the fire departments are encouraged to work towards lowering their ISO rating with a target of a district-wide 6. And the objectives to try to accomplish that. Our third goal, in association with the fire chiefs and the Office of Lee County Fire Marshal, strive to work together to maximize the fire service in Lee County through training, competencies, equipment, and staffing. And you can see the objectives we have for that. Goal number 4, the Fire Advisory Board, in cooperation with the Fire Chiefs Association and the Office of the Lee County Fire Marshal, will create a 5-year strategic and capital improvement plan to ensure maximum resource utilization effective county-wide, and the 4 objectives to try to accomplish those goals. Goal number 5, evaluate the current process of funding the Fire Marshal's office and evaluate opportunities for other funding mechanisms. And finally, goal number 6 is to conduct a current review of current public safety communication issues and develop steps to maximize countywide emergency communications. And I'll be glad if anybody has any questions about the objectives to answer those, or at least attempt to.
I've got a couple.
Yes, sir.
Up in your first one, you indicate a study needed manpower.
We've identified areas where there would be the need for 4 substations in order to try to get the majority of the residents inside a rated area. And as part of that, in order to put a substation, you can build a building, but if you don't have the men and the equipment to put in it to service it, then you just got an empty building sitting there. So that's where that comes from, is to do the study of what it would take as far as manpower and equipment. Some of the stations already have equipment that they could move into a substation possibly, or we could have to buy additional equipment. It takes 18 volunteers to man a substation or be on the roster.
That's
In addition, no.
included into the, just say for Tramway, for instance, if they needed a substation on down number 1 or somewhere back in the area.
Right.
It's going to need an additional 18?
But if it's a substation, in other words, if it's like Tramway Fire Station, if they were to get a substation, for one station, the state requires 18 people. If you've got a substation, it requires 28 people. So if it's a substation of a department that's already existing by state, by Department of Insurance, ratings, okay, it requires 28 people as a substation. If it's a standalone department, in other words, it's in and of itself, its own corporation, however it's established.
Like Tramway.
Right, like Tramway is, they require 18 people for that.
So it's 10 additional.
10 additional if it's a substation for an
Right.
existing department. If it's a new department,
Right, it's 18.
18.
Okay. So you'd be looking for at least 10 more volunteers.
Most likely. Well, the way we're looking at this, they would be substations. It would not be new departments. Yes,
Right.
sir.
And you'd still be looking for 10 volunteers. And if you didn't get that, then what happens to the idea? Does it go away or what?
Basically what would happen there is we would have to look at the departments in that area and find out what their current rosters have. Right now, most of the departments are carrying between 32 to 35 people on the rosters, depending on where you're at in the county.
Okay.
So those departments could absorb that additional substation location that they currently have.
Okay.
If there was the potential there where they did not meet the requirements for that substation, there's a lot of different things, recruitment, retention drives, things of that nature that maybe we can implement to try to get those numbers up where we need to get them.
But in the areas that we've identified, we're looking at substations to accomplish that. That's the easier track to go than trying to start a new department.
Oh, I agree. Goal number 2, number 3, and number 4, aren't they ongoing goals?
As far as
Yes.
going the 6 miles, does that not cover number 2?
So the 6 mile ratings, basically what happens on that serve is anything that's outside of 5 miles, the best rating they can get is a 9.
Correct.
Okay, the problem is what you have in that area that's outside that 6 mile right now, that's basically class 10 protection. Well, they can't, those homes pay the highest insurance rates in the country.
I thought on 10 they couldn't get it.
It depends on the underwriter. It depends on how it's structured and the underwriters.
Okay, but there are agencies that do not let you. Okay.
Correct. There are. But it's, a couple $100 in insurance premiums if you can get someone to write it.
If you can get it written.
Yeah. Or otherwise, you're probably in the state's fair plan.
And the other issue that you look at when you look at the additional 4 substation locations is what that does is that's going to bring a large majority of people within 5 miles. 5 miles is the magic number. When you look at a rating lower than a 9, you've got to be within 5 miles, 5 road miles of the station. So those 4 additional substation locations would bring the majority of the county residents within 5 miles. Therefore, if a department were to go out there and get a 6, a district-wide 6, that's the lowest premium that a homeowner will pay to 6. After a 6, a homeowner doesn't see any reduction in premium after a class 6 protection issue for that district.
But 2, 3, and 4 are ongoing. They're
Yes.
part of the.
Yeah, we're striving to try to get those.
Okay. And the fire marshal office.
That brings us to the next thing. We would like to ask the county commissioners to consider goal number 5. It's not a long-range goal. It's something that has come up in our meetings, and I addressed it in the letter that you guys have, that the Fire Advisory Board urges the Lee County Board of Commissioners to fund the cost of the Fire Marshal's Office through the use of general funds. The Fire Marshal's Office is a county department, and as a county department should be funded out of the general funds as all other departments. The volunteer fire departments struggle each year to minimize the tax burden on the property owners in their respective districts. The additional cost of the Fire Marshal's Office inflates these numbers as illustrated in Attachment B in your package entitled Lee County Fire Department Budgets and Rates. Departments were charged for the 06-07 fiscal year between $39.59 to $33,804 for the Fire Marshal's Office. Each department is required to hold a public meeting each year at which time the departments share their budget and projected tax rates with the local citizens. Unfortunately, from time of the public hearing until when the actual rates are set, there is significant changes. This discrepancy in rates causes undue burden on the officers, boards of directors, and of the fire departments. The departments are hard-pressed to explain this difference. The Fire Advisory Board and the Fire Chiefs Council recommend the Commissioners reconsider how the Fire Marshal's Office is funded. And we ask that you do this before the 07-08 year takes place.
Question for you. You said it causes undue burden.
Yeah, local citizens look at the fire department and say, you told us that your budget was 186. Why is it 218,000? Where did the extra money come? We go to explain it's for the fire marshal. So yeah, we're telling them one thing in our public hearing because we don't know what the cost is, and then when the actual budget comes out, it's inflated because of the cost of the fire marshal's office.
So why wouldn't they say in the public hearing that this recommendation is subject to the addition of the fire marshal's fee?
Never know what the fee's going to be.
That's why it would be subject to that decision by the commissioners.
Well, it's subject not to be free.
Right.
I'm saying if you whether all of this is property tax.
Correct.
Okay, and it sounds like if this is the first step to shifting equity in the fire marshal's office. So what you're doing, rather than by district, you're wanting every district to pay the same amount. I mean, there's obviously huge discrepancies from 3,900 to 33,800 between department by department. If you make it a function of the county, then it is spread out equal. Forget the 33 and 3. Everyone's paying the same. Correct? Even though there's more need in one area than another.
If it's paid out of general funds, it doesn't affect the fire departments.
No, but it's still coming from the same pool.
It's coming from the same pool of money.
You're just spreading the burden over to one area from one to another.
Correct.
You're putting it on
all of
the citizens of Lee County, whether they're in the fire district.
So
or not.
city and the county.
Yeah,
Right.
city and the county.
That's
okay.
right.
In addition to.
I live inside the city limits. I pay both taxes, and now I'll be paying for the fire marshal if it comes out of general fund.
Right. Right now, you're not paying the fire tax. You're paying your city tax.
That's correct.
So it is a shift. So what happens? The fire marshal is currently paid for the department, but you do services in the city of Sanford?
No, sir.
No. So why should the citizens of Sanford pay for your services? Am I asking a crazy question here?
I understand you're right about
You
the
is
same
if you are if you vote for the recommendation.
Well, no, I'm just saying, why should the citizens of Sanford be paying for your service unless we have reconciled all of the fire districts into countywide fire? If we had countywide fire, that would make sense. But we have a rural-based volunteer fire system. Why should the citizens of Sanford pay for you?
We should.
They would be.
But they would be under this recommendation.
This recommendation.
Well, unless you come up with another funding source.
Which we are probably within months going to propose another funding source, and that would be fee-based inspections.
Then I will move that we table this particular discussion until such time as the county manager is prepared to discuss a new funding source.
Okay.
All right. The
Well,
second.
I think the reason this is on there, and I think it was unanimous with all of the fire chiefs.
It was a unanimous vote by the Fire Advisory Board and the Fire Chiefs Council at their meeting that this item be brought.
What it hinged on was the fact that that this board approved making the fire marshal's office a department of county government.
He's saying this board did.
Right.
Yes.
Which is right.
Mm-hmm. I don't disagree with that.
So that's the reason this is on there. They felt like that if it was a department of county government, then the general fund should support the department.
And I would make the argument that it's exclusionary of the citizens of Sanford.
Well, I'm just telling you the reason
I don't
it came
disagree.
up.
It is, and it is funded by the property taxpayer.
You made a motion.
I did. I made a motion.
It's a personal motion that we table this discussion until the county manager can propose other alternates at a future date. You said that was going to be by February of 2007?
I said
The idea is
within
good.
months.
The idea is good, but we have a gap to bridge.
It might be
Okay.
something we could talk about at the retreat.
The motion has been made to table this. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? It has been tabled until we can come up with some other funding
Okay.
source.
Can we address item number 6 then?
Please.
Okay.
All right. Goal number 6, which asks for conduct a review of current public safety communication issues and develop steps to maximize countywide emergency communications. The Fire Advisory Board, again in conjunction with the Fire Chiefs Council, feel this goal is needed to be addressed now. Currently, the 911 Center is under the direction of the Sanford Police Department. The Fire Advisory Board, in long conversations with the fire chiefs and members of the fire service, get the feeling that there is not equity within the 911 Center. This issue of equity in emergency communications continues to be raised. The Fire Advisory Board has reviewed the Tri-Data report. Excerpts from that report are in attachment C of your package. We also see where the issue was raised in the Rural Fire Protection Improvement Task Force. The Fire Advisory members have talked with other emergency services agencies in the county who echo the same sentiments. The Fire Advisory Board recommends that the 911 Center become a standalone department comprised of a civilian director and a communications committee. We understand that the 911 Center is currently under direction and control of the Sanford Police Department, and rightfully so, it would be expected that the police dispatching takes priority over emergency services needs, or at least that is the impression that the fire service has out there. There seems to be justification to create a standalone 911 Center for all of Lee County. The Fire Advisory Board recommends a 911 Center as shown in Attachment D, the diagram entitled Proposed Lee County 911 Center. If properly set up, the Lee County 911 Center should be able to serve the dispatch needs of the Lee County Fire Services, the Fire Marshal's Office, the Emergency Management Office, Emergency Medical Services, Sanford Police Department, Broadway Police Department, and the Lee County Sheriff's Office. The delivery of efficient and timely communication for all emergency services is imperative, whether it is law, fire, or medical needs. A standalone 911 Center under civilian direction will allow all parties involved in delivery of emergency services in Lee County to have equity. The end result would be a 911 Center that would serve all of Lee County citizens better.
Don, on this one, I think you guys hit it out of the park. I think that there has never been a better, more solid idea that needs to be pursued, and I commend all of you guys for this. Is the way we should have been doing things for a long time. And you're actually going to save lives if you do this, if this board would allow us to do it.
Well, it's up to this board, and like I say, it came up in your Tri-Data report, it came up in the task force, and it's come up in our joint meetings with the fire chiefs, so.
It's not up to, it won't be up to this board.
No. But I mean, that is something that has so much merit that everyone in this community should be concerned with.
Have you discussed this with anyone over at the city?
No, sir.
You know, that's really sad. We just had this before, it's not too long ago. This very same concept. You know, 1 year is metro government, and if that doesn't fly, then the next year is let's do our own thing. Tell me how it is that this proposal is going to work any better because it's moved from the police department.
It would be under civilian direction. It would not be under the direction of the Sanford Police Department. There is a perception in the county that the police department has priority, and rightly so, because it is a police department center right now. A standalone center with a civilian director and a communications committee made up of all the parties would serve the county and the city of Sanford and the town of Broadway better.
So standalone is going to change the number of calls we get.
No, it's not going to change the number of calls.
Okay, then tell me how it's going to work any different. Because are you suggesting that we have a problem that we don't know about?
There is a perception that the...
Not perception, problem, Mr.
Yes, the fire departments feel like that police dispatch takes priority over fire service.
How many written complaints have you received? Manager, I'm talking. Concerning
no more
911.
than a few since I've been here. Maybe two.
Written?
Maybe one or two written, yes.
How about any of you commissioners?
I think it's an unfair comparison, Mr. Reeves, because I mean, how many people care about the county budget? I think a lot do. How many show up at our public hearing? Very few. I think that's kind of a red herring that has nothing to do with the discussion
but
here.
It doesn't cost you any money. You're talking about building a separate department, another layer.
We're talking about getting rid of a layer. We're talking about flattening out things.
So this civilian is not going to report to anybody; just runs his own show.
No, he would be under the IT department. That's what was in the Tri-Data report.
I see, under IT. And
Right now it's under the Sanford Police Department.
I understand where it is. I also understand from this outdated draft that I read that 85% of the calls go to the city. Is that accurate?
If that report is accurate, yes, sir.
You know how old this report is?
It's a couple years old.
Have you had any discussion with the chief of police about any complaints?
That's not the part that I would see as the fire advisory board. All we're doing is making a recommendation to the county commissioner, sir.
I agree with you. I just asked. How about you, Mr. Colson?
I believe Commissioner Adams brought this up several months ago when you mentioned that it had come up before. And you did do some background work on this situation, didn't you? And talk to some city people.
Well, you have communications that are going. It goes from one center to another. We actually have two kind of communications dispatches, do we not? We have one over the city and one at the county, and so a call goes in. Then, and rather than having these multiple ways of getting information to save somebody's life, we ought to flatten that out. I mean, the perception amongst even some of them was that this can be done better. This needs to get out of a domain or turf. It needs to be a citizen-wide county issue. That's just, I mean, when someone's life's at stake, I don't really care where it is, but it should be, the number one goal should be to save lives, regardless of whether it's in the city or county, and making it county-wide is a good idea. It's a solid idea, and many places around the state do that. If we're interested in saving lives, we ought to consider an idea like this.
So we're no longer operating from fact-based information. We just talk about perception. So how many people have lost their life because of the way it's currently set up?
I don't think you can quantify that.
I don't think you can either. I don't think you can either.
Do you think we can do better? Do you think we can do better? Should we strive to do better to provide protection for people or not?
I think you should always strive to do that. But
Then
I don't think
this
you
is a
ought to
step in
react
that
on
direction.
perception. There are better ways to accumulate information regarding what you're trying to do. I certainly believe that.
Mr. Chairman, may I ask a question?
Okay.
I'd like to know what you all have found is typical around the state with the 911 center.
When we talked about this at fire advisory board meetings, and one thing that we have found that is very successful across the state. Buncombe County, Ashford, areas of that nature. What they do is they have a communications committee, a users group. And that users group is not one person is the gatekeeper and says, yes, this is going to happen, or no, it's not. The committee decides, much like what you have in the Fire Advisory Board, and the success of the Fire Advisory Board, we've come a long way since, its inception. But that communications committee would determine, yes, this is relevant, and yes, this is a priority, and yes, this is what it is, instead of it just being one person saying, no, it's not going to happen, or no, we're not doing that. And in the meetings that we've had, the joint meetings that we've had with the fire chiefs and other agencies that use that, that's the feeling. That's how it is. I can tell you right now, just last week, a department called me last week with an issue where they were wanting to add one department on their automatic aid for their district-wide 6 rating that's coming up in the spring. They were told, I don't think I can do it because we're going to have to take a bunch of police stuff out of the system, out of the camp. So that has the potential to impact that fire department's ability to lower their district-wide rating to a 6.
Derek, excuse me. This goes beyond perception because I was in on this, having discussions with the city and so forth 4 or 5 years ago. This goes, and the complaints, and they were valid from the fire districts, had to do with the real-time inputs of when fire trucks were dispatched from the fire departments, when the trucks were rolling, when they arrived on the scene and so forth. They were not timely. They then said that with this of not being timely, it affected could affect the insurance rating of the fire district. That was their complaint. They had numerous examples of this. When they said that from their records, I remember one situation at the Deep River Fire Department. They had a record of the fire truck rolled at 10:06, but by the time that a 911 dispatcher logged that in and it got officially on the record, it was like 9:20, and so that showed a
huge lag.
A big lag in response, which had an effect on the insurance rating. So I'm just saying this, that it's not just perception. They had some specific examples. Now, how many examples of this, I have no idea.
What was that response time to the fire or notification to the department?
It was when the 911 dispatcher put it on the official record for that event, for that exercise.
As a unit checks en route, that person operator has to punch that into the CAD system as marking that unit en route on the scene.
And that's the official.
That's the official time log. So everything is based off of anything that happens at that incident, whether it's litigation or whatever, is driven off of that official time log and off of the dispatch tapes. Now, are they the only ones that have a problem getting things inputted in right exactly to the second? No, they're not, and I'm not saying that. I don't think the Fire Advisory Board is saying that. It's a matter of when you look at the things and what we're going towards. That center was just rated by the state of North Carolina. Okay, and when you look at the rating that they received out of 10 possible points, they got just over half the possible points that are available out of 10 points. Now, am I saying that's bad management? No, I'm not, because I've been here since June. I don't know about the meetings that happen or anything like that. But what I can tell you is, as a new person here and what I've seen, there are some things, whether it doesn't matter how you structure it, there are some things, there are some room for improvements, just like there are in anything else. But there are problems there, and it's not perceptions, it's problems.
Well, then if you've documented the problem, then let me ask, have you made any effort to try and correct them?
I'll give you one example of something I was trying to do for the fire departments.
Okay.
All the fire departments are on one records management system.
Now, this is related to my question.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right.
You talking about trying to build that bridge, trying to get that improvement. We were trying to go in and get it to where the OSSI CAD software, which that's the name brand of software they use, would actually drop the times into the fire departments. Okay, it's very possible. It happens to everybody. A bunch of counties are doing that. And it saves a lot of time. The reason why it's important is it saves those fire departments time. There they go in there, they get 6 trucks and route to a call. Well, they got to put 5 times in on each truck. Okay, so it's going to save them time. Plus, they get all the CAD notes. They get the address automatically fed in. It's just less data entry. And that's one thing that you heard during the Rural Fire Protection Task Force is all this time they had to spend on paperwork. And if you lessen that amount of time, you're helping them out. It was, well, don't think we can do it, when I know it in fact, because that's a Microsoft SQL database engine that's driving the OSSI system. And the system that all the fire departments are using is a Microsoft SQL-based system as well. So they can talk, they can communicate. It's a matter of how much does it cost to write the patch needed to do it.
Okay, but my question again is, have you made that kind of recommendation, and have you asked IT to do it? And if you got no response, did you bring it to the manager or?
Our IT department has no say in that. So
they have an IT department too, right?
Yes.
Okay, so they could make the same request to them, right?
We requested it, and that would mean that they would have to log into the system. They would have to have the patch built on.
No, I'm just asking, what have you done to rectify the problem that you identified is all I'm asking.
They said it couldn't be done.
And you disagreed? And did you check with the IT department or the manager?
The city IT department doesn't administer 911 technology.
I am real aware of that. But
the city or the county.
It's a technology question, is that correct?
Correct.
Is that what you're saying?
So what I'm saying is I know they're both Microsoft SQL, so I know they'll talk.
Okay.
I know it can be done.
Okay.
All right, it's just a matter of opening up a path into the CAD system to where a fire department can log into a link and drop right in. We do it. Fire department Randolph County, we're working on it right now. We're doing a patch right now for their system, so it can be done. Okay.
I'm not disagreeing with you, and I don't want you to think that, but here's all I'm saying to you. I merely ask if we were doing anything to try and rectify problems that we find, and I think that we should be. I don't think it would be fair for me to sit here and try and judge the fire department on certain things that I hear without first asking them to consider changing the way they do it if they're guilty of what is perceived. But I wouldn't sit here, I wouldn't come in and make a recommendation. I wouldn't make a recommendation without having done something to show that I've gone to the limit in trying to get it rectified. That's all I'm saying.
Do you believe, Don or Austin, do you believe that doing this, if this county were to embark upon this, would cut response times in any way? Fire, automobile crashes, heart attacks?
I think it would improve the communications between the departments and dispatch. I think the response times on paper, I don't know, because that's a keying thing there, but I think it would improve the level of service between the fire service, emergency services, and law enforcement for the whole county if there was one center that did everything.
Awesome.
I think that when you look at the problem that has itself the way it lays right now, there are room for improvements. And I think that what you would see eventually in the system, once it's up and running, and those efficiencies are found that we can put in place, from that committee that makes a recommendation instead of it just being one gatekeeper, like what you've got right now, I think you would see those efficiencies. I think you would see things improve. Because you would have people around the table making decisions instead of just one person saying yes or no, we are going to do this, we're not going to do this.
Because of all things government does, I think this is one of the most critical areas that government should be doing, saving lives, providing protections. And what I can understand, Mr. Reeves, maybe you can help me with this. Why do you think there would be a reluctance to embrace something like this from anyone in that field? Why do you think this is an idea that would not have merit, regardless of what municipality is involved?
It may very well be your approach. You know, I listened to you, and I listened how the county manager praised you for him being able to get you to come to Lee County. While the process may not have been exactly the way I thought it should have gone, I respect his opinion of you and his assessment of your abilities. For me to sit here and listen to what's being proposed, and then I simply ask, did you go and talk to the people who run it, or did you make any recommendations to them? And you say to me, no, I didn't do that. I don't feel like I need to do that because the perception is this. that it's not working right.
The fire advisor.
Have you talked with, well, whoever it is, did you talk to the city manager about this by any chance?
No, not recently.
Did you talk to the outgoing sheriff and police department chief?
Yes, sir.
Somewhere, I find it difficult to believe that we're doing business this way. I just read yesterday, I think it was, where the mayor said how we could look forward to doing other things together after the Bristol-Myers event. Economic development should be much easier in the future because we're all working together. Somehow this just doesn't fit. That's all I say.
The complaints that the chiefs had to do with the logins, did it not? And the accuracy, the timing of those? Because
That was, yes, part of the complaint was
I mean, that was the major.
times logging in.
Yeah, that was the major complaint, was it not?
That was one of the major complaints.
Yeah. Has anybody been back with a specific example of saying, going back to the 911 center, is Pat still running that? Pat Burger?
Yes.
And going back to Pat and saying, you logged in that our truck didn't roll until 9:20, but we know that we pulled out of that station at 9:06. What happened during that period of time? I mean, what caused that delay? Because I don't see that an organization change is going to correct that problem.
I thought that communication system logged in the time when you made the call.
If that person, if the dispatcher then, he or she might write it down that the truck number so-and-so rolled from Deep River, but she hadn't got around yet to tying that into an event and putting the time on.
I know
That's
as far as
absolutely.
I think when you, maybe you could correct me if I'm wrong, if the fire call comes in over here at the city hall, they notify the fire department. All that's been recorded on that system somewhere or other, isn't it?
Yep.
Time and everything. How can there be any discrepancy there if that thing's recording the time? If the guy calls in and says, I'm on the way, I mean, his voice is on there. It puts the time on that machine somewhere or other.
It takes that operator to key it in.
They have to key it in.
They have to key it into the CAD.
So if the operator's not there asleep or something, they don't get keyed in until the next day.
Or if she's got another call, that she's
they
on.
get back logged, they're gonna be times that those times are not accurately stamped or keyed in. I do remember working, the length of time I did with the ambulance service. When they dispatched us a call, we had our ambulance call report. As soon as that tone was turned in to our pagers, and they gave out the time, and we rolled out the door at the same time, we put that time down. My partner, whoever it might have been, would sit there and record the times when the call was dispatched and on the way, and then arrival time. All that's being done by your partner. We've done that with the fire departments. But I do know that it takes 2 people on that truck going out when they're waiting for personnel. Those times that are put on that log, whether it be a fire report or an ambulance call report, are going to pretty much coincide. Now, I don't know if they still use the cards the fire department, the fire department has at the police department communication center, where they stamped it. In other words, it's just like a time clock.
It's all automated.
It's all me.
So it's got to be typed into it.
Yeah, you get a printout.
You get a printout, fax back to your station, and the call's over with.
But every time that
And that's
they
right.
came
Why
on the
facts?
radio, they gave a time for
I'll
that.
ask
That goes back to what he was just saying. There's software to do that.
Wait a minute. This is what got me. Is it's fact? Amy has some questions. I just have one clarification. You said it's faxed.
Yes.
Why do we have to? Why are we faxing this stuff? Why is it not just digital? That's just astounding to me that we're in 2006 and you're faxing these things station to station and keeping track. But this should be digital, should it not? It's digital almost everywhere in the state. That to me illustrates another problem with our system. But go ahead, Ms. Stevens.
Well, you all may not find this relevant, but I certainly do. Living in the town of Broadway, if you try to get up with the Broadway Police Department, and they'll kill me when they hear that I've said this in public, but if you try to get up with them after hours, I have to call, and I get the Sanford Sheriff's Department, the Sheriff's Department or the Police Department or something, and then they in turn contact the Broadway Police. There is the most frustrating feeling in the world, knowing that it's got to go from one person to another person, and surely hope they got up with somebody, and surely hope the interpretation was the same or whatever. So I understand this feeling of disconnect and the frustration that's behind it, and the time lapses and all that kind of thing. But I really have a problem with, this recommendation is something that I think the majority of the board members around this board just really understand as a need. And it's a need that I've understood since I've been on this board for 4 years. And to have, this fire advisory board and the, what do you call yourself? The fire marshal. Be called to task.
It's on his shirt right there.
Because of because of procedural matters. I'm just not buying that. I don't think that's fair to them. They are told to report to us, and that is what they're doing. I think if Derek had gone a little further and started contacting people with the city, then he'd be called to task because he went to the city and he hadn't come to us first. So I don't identify with your sentiments, Mr. Reeves, on that. And I have absolutely no problem with them coming here and asking us. And I think we don't need to let the procedure be the issue. We need to let whatever it is that the need for this is be what it is that we're concerned with. So if it is something that we think we need to proceed with, then we need to carry on.
Well, there's more
And
than
it may in turn cause us to have some communications with the city where we get some of this cleared up. But I don't think he can do it by himself. He needs our support.
I didn't ask him to do anything alone. I simply asked him, did he make any recommendations? Did he make any to that group, or did he make any to the manager who represents this board and who has the board's attention when he needs it if he wants to move forward making recommendations to 911? But let me go a step further and say to you that when you served on the town board, did you fix the problem you're talking about? Did you make any recommendations? You're concerned? Well, then let me tell you what I did. When the highway patrol couldn't talk with the sheriff's department, I recommended to this board that we go ahead and buy radios so they can communicate, not have to go to Greensboro. There are things that we can do without having to build a separate entity to take care of the problem. I merely asked if you had done anything.
But we're not necessarily talking about building either.
That's right. And what I'm hearing him say is
We already own the equipment.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not building it.
that we have come upon stumbling blocks, and now we're trying to go further. And also this ISO rating of 6 that we're trying to attain, which is one of our goal number 1 or 2. I'm hearing you say that is a stumbling block is going to be this piece of communication, which can't get through the city of Sanford in order for us to achieve that. So, sometimes.
What's the stumbling block? I didn't hear that. What's the stumbling block?
There's 3 items that they graded within the ISO grading schedule. One of those is communications.
Yes.
Out of 100 points, it's 10 points. Okay? But it's the 10 points that the fire department has the least control over, because they don't have any say or any input into how the system is constructed in the county.
So the citizens of the county, they're paying taxes to try to get their ISO rating down. That's 10 points that the taxpayers really of the county have no control over. Am I correct?
Well, actually, they have.
But of those 10, they have very little control over. Also, don't a lot of the rural firemen, volunteers, also work in the city? We have many of them that are volunteers and also work. What are their thoughts on this? I mean, they're working in the city. They're city employees. Are they supporting this endeavor of yours? Here's one right here, isn't it? No. Keep your mouth okay. Well, are you getting support from them?
There was unanimous support from the Fire Chiefs Council, which that's the fire departments, the 8 volunteer fire departments in the county. They were unanimous behind this, that they're the
Are any of those
communication-
city firefighters?
I was getting ready to
No, no.
say, what
And
about
two-
the fire chiefs?
And
city
2 of them
fire
are on
chiefs?
the advisory board.
Some of
The
them,
Fire
so
Advisory
some of them
Board
are.
has
Okay.
nothing to do with the City of Sanford Fire Department or
Right.
the City
But-
of Sanford
Right.
Police Department. We deal with the volunteer fire departments. That's
Right.
what you appointed us to be.
Mhm.
We're reporting back to you. The City of Sanford, we do not. I mean, they've been gracious and they've helped us do some things, but
And again, you're doing what you were tasked to do, which
we're
was look
we're
at our
just,
county,
Yeah,
and not look.
y'all appointed us to look into the fire service.
I think it's-
This issue has come up for the 3rd time now, and we're making the recommendation to you guys to look into it.
My question is, who's gonna pay for it? Have you considered the cost?
You own the majority of the equipment already.
Yeah, I think Ed, the next step would be to figure out what it would cost. I mean, because you already have equipment, things. But Ed, I mean, the cost on insurance and everything else that we're not looking at, it's costing us too. To get
I've
to,
heard that for all my life, and my insurance has never come down 1 cent. They got water out there, they got a fire department within a mile and a half of my house. My insurance keeps going up. Every year, it's higher.
What I have problems with, Don, is very frankly, and for the rest of the commissioners, on page 83 to 84. There is an organization chart on your 103 that shows this civilian director reporting to the Sanford Police Department. All right?
That's how it is now.
That's right. That's right. And your recommendation is that civilian director report to the Sanford IT department, and that's going to correct all the problems that we've been
That's what
talking
it
about
says
today.
on 84.
That's the
We also-
Tri-Data study, their
What?
recommendation. That's the Tri-Data study.
Right, I understand.
Their recommendation is on page 80.
The tax indeed. It doesn't have to be the Lee County
Yeah, I
Information
understand.
Technology. I mean, they got to report to somebody's got to oversee it.
Well, how's
So
that
it become a
different
county
than what we
function.
looked
But the key there would be the communications committee. You would have representatives from all the parties who use the dispatch center.
so you would have, so that committee would have representatives from all the
Yes.
all the municipalities, and okay.
I'm going to suggest we table this at the present time and have the county manager set up a study committee and bring a recommendation on how to address this 911 request back to the board, and consider all of the frailties that that we've discussed here today on communications, of whether it can be done by allowing the fire department's entry into the system. But we're just spinning our wheels here today.
Well, you understand that all we're doing as the fire advisory board
I
is
understand.
bringing
I did
this
it, and
information to you.
You did a great job.
I mean, if that's not what you want from us, we need, I guess, another set of instructions.
I think that's exactly what this board tasked you to do, is look at ideas and come back to this board. I think you've done that. The fact that some people may disagree with what your recommendations are has little to do with the fact that you guys did an honorable job.
Well, I think we've made great strides with the working relationship between the fire advisory board and the fire chiefs. They are have been willing to sit down with us and talk. And Derek's been a big asset in bringing all the parties together to work on common goals.
Does any member of
as
does any member of the board have any reservations about the county manager setting up this study committee to work with the fire advisory board?
I do. I mean, I don't know why we need a study committee. You just have, why not try to work through some of the issues that have been addressed, some of the talk, find out what would be improved if we did this. I don't think you need a study committee. You have the people in place. As Mr. Reeves said, the county manager can communicate with his counterpart, and let's, see what the issues are. How would this benefit, and come back with a,
That's what I'm saying. I'm not.
But it doesn't
I'm
need to
not-
set up a special
I'm not saying
committee.
a committee. I'm just starting to, set up the communications, talk with the city manager, bring up some of the problems that the fire chiefs have been bringing up to the fire advisory board.
It's where we often say
Have
good
the-
ideas to die.
And the fire marshal can do that. He can assist.
Because more often than not, these
That's
ideas just end up
the
withering
county
on the
manager.
vine and no one does anything with them.
Ms. Andrews, would you agree in this draft that civilian reports to the Sanford Police Department in the proposed draft, he reports to Sanford Information Technology, and your recommendation is that that civilian report to Lee County Information Technology.
It would be managed by Lee County instead of the City of Sanford Police Department.
Yeah, but that's the only real word change.
Right.
Well, and you would also have one dispatch center for all the entities. Right now, you have 2 dispatch centers technically.
Yeah, we do.
You have one where the City of Sanford dispatches for the city fire department, for the county fire departments, and then you have a dispatch center on the other side of town that dispatches for the sheriff's department and the Broadway Police Department.
There's traffic between those two, including Let's Get Milk.
Another key to it is the communications committee. You get everybody, you get all the parties involved on it instead of just being directed by one
I
department.
just don't want to break it so we can fix it, that's all.
Well, I think it's broke, sir.
Next item is inspection service. What?
Did the board want to make any formal direction of us?
I think he directed you to continue looking at this and documenting more of the issues and bringing up a formal recommendation to the board as the county manager. I thought that's what I understood.
Okay, I thought you had a table. We were going to have.
No.
I thought you were going to
her
table it.
tabled it too.
Yeah.
No, we're not.
No.
There's been no motion, so there's nothing to do.
Nothing to table. Just to
So
continue
we're just going to
the
continue this.
I thought yours was the motion.
And see if we can, David, through the IT personnel, can figure out some way to address all the problems that fire chiefs are having.
Okay,
with
and
this
report
inspection.
back in a month?
It'll most likely take more than a month. I want to come back with some options for you. And to do that, I'm going to have to get together the sheriff's department, the fire departments, the
So why
fire
don't you do it
marshal,
when
IT, talk to the city,
when you have the other
Broadway. There'll be a lot of people involved to bring back a comprehensive
Good
solution.
luck.
We can bring something back in February, you can bring it when you come.
Yeah, I'll be here.
When you're ready.
Okay. The next item is inspection service agreement between Lee County and Wyeth Vaccines. Derek?
Mr. Chairman, 2 weeks ago, Mr. Smithman and myself met with Roger King, who is the Director of Environmental Health and Services out at the Wyeth facility, and his engineering staff. At that time, they apprised us of a lot of different things.
Okay, we've got all your correspondence.
Yes, sir.
In the package, so I don't think the commissioners need a.
He said, cut to the chase.
All right.
Cut to the
Basically what Wyeth has advised us of is above level average services. And what they have proposed is the ability for us to enter in, what they want to talk is start dialogue on actually them basically getting us a position within the fire marshal's office to assist them directly with a lot of the projects they have. One thing that has developed since this agenda was sent out was Thursday. We had a technical review committee meeting with Wyeth on their new administrative facility. That is going to take a substantial amount of time within the fire marshal staff that we have right now. And this is definitely a good opportunity for us.
As I understand this, they want a person over there full-time, is that correct? At Wyeth?
I wouldn't say full-time. They want a person in a very timely manner. And basically what we've done, if you look at the contract, we specified those time frames in the contract that we would have somebody there. But they do need somebody, they need us to be more flexible than 8 to 5 Monday through Friday. When you look at periods of shutdown, the inspections.
Who's gonna develop the priorities? How much is Wyeth gonna give us for providing this specialized service?
We're proposing roughly $75,000
And Wyeth
contract.
would pay us that?
That is the first proposal. We are coming to you before we go any further.
Okay.
And like Derek said, the reason for this request by Wyeth is they need, at some periods of their year, 24-hour response.
Right.
Someone on call. They need above average type service. And with their administrative facility, they will, to some degree, need someone on site during critical phases, 24 hours a day, critical phases of the construction of their new admin facility, if that is embarked upon. So that was the impetus behind this request, and they believe that their activities for the coming future will necessitate, on an ongoing basis, this level of customized service.
You said 24 hours a day. Are you talking about one, or are you talking about two?
We're talking about during critical phases of shutdown or other projects, they need someone, they may say, tonight we need somebody from 3 a.m. to 8 a.m. It's not necessarily someone on site 24 hours a day. It's someone at their disposal to work at any given period of a 24-hour, pending the critical phases of the project.
Mr. Chairman, I guess in light of this, I could make a recommendation that consideration of why approving this, that we approve the draft on page 108 and submit that to Wyeth for this protection. It is a service for them that they're willing to pay for. It needs to be done to official measures. So I would move that we approve that draft.
Mr. Adams, if I may, there's two requests we're seeking. One is that if they do honor, or not honor, but take us up on this offer, this contractual relationship, that the chairman have the authority to execute that document, and also that a position be added to as grade 70 per Ms. McGee's recommendation, so that we may commence that process immediately.
Okay, I mean, amend the motion in that way, but it still ends up being the same way, as long as they're willing to pay.
Correct.
That would be a deputy fire marshal?
Is this two positions?
No.
No, sir.
One
Just one.
No. You have a deputy fire marshal in here. Is that the person, or is this an additional person?
We're in the process of hiring one. This will be another position. Yes, sir.
Be two inspectors on site.
Now we're getting close. Okay.
This one be dedicated to Wyeth for
It
the
would
most
be
part.
their primary responsibility.
Now, you're speaking, this one be, here additional, the board will ask to be added, the deputy fire marshal position. Who's gonna be the deputy fire marshal? The one that was hired previously, or the one that you're looking at now, or the one that we're talking about now
It would be
for White?
It would be the one that we would, not the one we're looking at right now. It would be, this would be an additional job announcement with additional candidates that we would screen through.
Will they both be 70s?
No, sir.
No, the one's gonna be
The first one was
66.
This will be a 70.
Why is this,
I was getting ready to ask.
why is this any,
Various things.
why is this any more important than the previous one?
This one
The,
is the one.
The
that
thing when you look at
previously
why, this
approved.
person is actually,
have
their
it.
primary responsibility is gonna be why.
That's it.
Okay, in other words, when Wyeth calls, that'll be part of that service contract. But their other primary function will be the industrial park. And when you look at the types and functions and the processes and what we're inspecting out there at the industrial park, this person is gonna be the above, it's gonna take.
We've been inspecting those before, though, up to now. Out in the industrial park?
Who's been doing that?
It's been under the city of Sanford's responsibility.
We contracted.
We contracted with
That's
them,
right,
I see,
that's
we
right.
have been inspecting them.
They've been getting done.
It has been the city of Sanford's
Did Wyeth come to you,
Yes, sir.
or did you go to them?
They came to us. They requested a meeting with Mr. Smitherman and myself.
How will this impact the contractual arrangement you have with the city?
We no longer have a
No, I
contractual
understand,
relationship.
but so now you'll have, this person will assume those duties along with the deputy, is that, or how?
The city, if this comes.
This is the deputy, the one that they're proposing here for Wyeth would be they're proposing as the deputy fire marshal.
Yeah, and we can call that senior fire inspector if you
All right,
like.
okay.
Title's not important. We have a fire inspector, we have a grade 70, which would be a higher tiered fire inspector, and then the fire marshal in hierarchy. What we're finding, I don't mind telling you, is that our fire inspector position that we are currently recruiting for is woefully underfunded for the job responsibilities we are putting out there. We don't need 3 level 3 people. If we were to enter into a contract with Wyeth and have the flexibility to add this position, we could lower the requirements of the fire inspector, the basic one, the grade 66 one, where it doesn't require a level 3 and might get a little bit better applicant pool. Because quite frankly, the people that are qualified for fire inspector that we're advertising for now, we can't afford them. We cannot afford them. We can't afford the market rate for a level 3, and we don't need all these level 3s. We could get by with a level 2 and restructure our department. So there are advantages internally to Wyeth's proposal or request. And one is it allows the county to be able to afford a fire inspector. Because right now, if this doesn't go through, I'll be back to you next month asking to increase the grade of the fire inspector position to a grade 70 because we can't afford a level 3 inspector.
I see this as a great relationship, and I'd love to see other companies look at this and hopefully try to figure out a way to work with the county the same.
There's one other thing that was alluded to in Mr. Andrews' comments related to additional revenue sources, and that is that we currently provide fire inspection services at no cost to everyone outside the city limits. We cannot, and this I'm sure the fire departments would appreciate, if we got off the fire property tax and shifted the inspection burden to a fee-based service, which would lower the impact on their property tax budgets and give us a secondary source of revenue to pay for this, in my opinion, what should be a fee-based service. Building inspections, electrical, blah, 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 are all fee-based services. So should fire. And that's a proposal we're going to be coming forth with you. One thing that this agreement would do for Wyeth or any other company that would like to enter in that type of relationship is we would be able to provide a customized service contract or a contract-based service that they may, in exchange for a fee, be allowed to have some customized response, and we can exempt them from fee-type schedules in exchange for this service agreement. So we're, what this is customizing government service to the user. And we feel real positive about this initiative.
Where would this person be housed? Where would his office be?
We have a motion on right next to my desk.
It would be actually in the fire marshal, and he would only respond to the needs of Wyeth when they requested, doesn't it?
That's correct.
Him.
Yeah. Basically, Wyeth projects would take precedence. There would be a basically what it would be is anytime they needed, there would be meetings, planning meetings. And at those planning meetings, such a shutdown, that person's schedule would be customized based off of Wyeth's needs. Now, if they weren't at Wyeth, okay, and there were other projects that needed to be taken care of, that person would also be available for that. But basically, when Wyeth comes calling, that's what that person's going to do. That's what they're going to do. And when you look at, I seen the plans Thursday for that building. It's 195,000 square foot. It's going to be a lot of work. There's a lot of things that are going on right there. And when you listen, when you heard the things that David and I heard, Mr. Smith heard at the meeting, their plans further down the road, it's going to be a large impact on us. And right now, since I've been here in June, we have done over 15 plan reviews just at Wyeth. And when you look at the amount of time it takes us to respond to those, and it's highly technical, a lot of different things. I mean, we're doing everything from offices to hazardous material storage areas, fire protection replacement. There's a lot of different things we're having to do out there. And one thing that I would say about this is we're a county with big city problems when you look at our inspections and what we're faced with. I talked to several different fire marshals. I talked to the fire marshal in Durham County. They got the Research Triangle Park, and he faces a lot of the same things that we're talking about. And we're right here in Lee County. So when you look at what this offers us, the potential to be able to do is pretty unique.
Okay, Derek, let's truncate this whole thing here. Let's restate your motion.
The motion was to approve the resolution, page 1, I think it's 106, 108, with the additions that Mr. Smitherman had, which essentially added the new position. And contingent on the funding from Wyeth and getting the grade appropriate.
For the record, I would like to say that is a draft and it may change.
So. Understood.
Okay.
So for the most part, it's contingent upon their approving
Correct.
a working agreement.
Correct.
That's what the motion would include.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Any specific discussions on that motion?
Yes, is this going to be as deputy fire marshal, or are you looking at a senior fire inspector and the grade?
Mr. Smitherman said the titles weren't important, and it would be just a senior fire inspector.
And what would be the grade, David?
70.
On the contract, would Wyeth had the authority, let's say the person was inspecting, to just call them at random and they drop the inspecting and go to Wyeth?
If, under the service agreement, what it states is there's a minimum amount of time that it would take us to respond. So in other words,
If they agreed to that?
it would be like 36 hours. Plan reviews would be done within so many days. That's specified in the contract.
Well, what condition would cause them to be on 24-hour
Okay.
availability?
Under shutdown circumstances, they work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And then when they're doing renovations and things of that nature, if they finish a particular renovation at 3 a.m. in the morning,
Yeah.
and before they can move to the next step, they need a rough-in inspection for a sprinkler, fire alarm protection, whatever.
Got it.
They need it at 3 a.m. That way, at 3:15, they can start the next step in the process. They have got it. The engineers out there have got it down to the hour of when projects are going to be completed. And so, when they said we need somebody available 24 hours a day, that
So
really
it could be 3:15 p.m. instead of a.m.
Right.
It's the same thing.
Right, and we would adjust
Now-
that person's schedule.
Okay, the other question is, if other plants want the same kind of, or require the same conditions or the same needs or services, this one person gonna be available, or do we go back to the drawing board? Have you thought that far ahead?
We have thought about that as recently as Thursday, and we would customize that response to their requirements. So if that means
Hiring another person?
having part-time people on call, whatever, we wouldn't enter into a contract we couldn't service.
I understand. I'm glad to hear that part. And would their position be contingent upon that contract? In other words, if, I don't know, if Cody decided to get one, and Cody said, we don't need him anymore, do we keep him on, or what takes place?
No.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to call a question at this point, because these are issues that are important down the road, but, I mean...
Well, they're important to me, because I'm going to be here.
Understood, Mr. Reeves.
Good.
I think at that point, I think that's a relationship that have to be looked at that point. Where are we at? Where are the demands placed on
Come back
service,
to the board.
and have to come back to the board.
Okay. Thank you. Call the question.
The question has been called. All in favor of Mr. Adams' motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
No.
Who were the two no's? Mr. Reeves, 5-2, the motion passed 5-2 with Mr. Reeves and Mr. Lamond in the negative. Next item, request to include Moore and Harnett counties as part of the Central Carolina Dental Center.
Good morning again. If I might, I would like to make just a few brief statements about this issue and then go over some questions. Of course, I would like to compliment Holly Ann on her remarks about our commitment to this concept and this mission and this partnership with the community college on the regional center for education and services, and the grant monies that have been, in an unprecedented way, been successful in this project. The Board of Health last Wednesday night did approve this concept and the motion, and
I'm going to move to approve.
Motion has been made to approve the request to include Moore and Harnett counties as part of the Central Carolina Dental Center.
I've got one question for you.
Yes, sir.
Any discussions, Mr. Reeves?
I know that Chatham has Orange County, but were they invited to participate, or did they just?
Orange County was not at this time. We have historically served.
You said Chatham.
Chatham is being.
Chatham
served by-
has been served ever since the very first
Okay.
day. Yes, sir. I'm sorry.
All right.
Misunderstood the question.
Is that it, Mr. Reeves?
Yes.
Okay, the motion has been made to include Moore and Harnett counties as part of the Central Carolina Dental Center. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion is adopted unanimously. Thank you very much, Mike. Consider meeting dates for December of 2006. Any recommendations other than you're going to have a December 4th meeting by statute? You want to defer that until that board meeting?
So moved.
Huh?
So moved.
Okay, with the December 4th meeting, any further meetings will be discussed on that date. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? That's it. Let's take, before we start these monthly managers' reports, let's take a 10-minute recess and be back here at 11:30. Let's reconvene the meeting, start with managers' reports, monthly financial statement for October 2006. Lisa Minner.
Good afternoon, I guess it's still good morning.
Good morning.
And what you have in your package is your report for the month ending October 31st. There's nothing unusual or alarming noted. Most departments are running on par. Some are running closer to 50%, and that's because of the way we do quarterly appropriations.
All right.
We pay them at the beginning of the quarter. I'll be glad to answer any questions.
How's sales taxes doing?
Sales taxes, we've not gotten any more numbers since last time I reported to you.
Okay.
Your meeting was early this month.
Okay.
They'll probably be here.
Anybody have any questions for Lisa on the financial statements that are on page 14 and 17?
They're still running behind.
Yes, they will constantly run 3 months behind.
Always.
One
quarter.
At least in our public safety area, it's just minor, but why is juvenile detention so low?
It's because of the timing of the billing.
Just okay. Early in the month again.
Yeah, and we
Just so
probably
low.
just recently paid out the last of the last year's appropriation, our amounts billed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mike Haynes, Environmental Health Update.
You guys are all screwed today. Look how far everyone is away from work.
Good morning again.
Welcome.
It's been a long morning, isn't it?
Yes.
Haven't seen you in a while, Mike.
I received a set of questions through David regarding environmental health and how we were doing with our staffing situation and workload. And I have responded, clearly, it's concise, but clearly in a memo to David on November the 3rd. And I can talk in general about this and then go over some questions if you like.
I think your report was explanatory to me, but everyone else did.
Okay.
Does anyone have any questions on Mike's report, which is on our page 119, 120?
Just one comment. Every month, Mike produces this report, which tells you what the monthly average was, what the average was last year, and then the yearly average. But last year at this time, we were doing establishment inspections 43 a month, and this year we're doing 100 a month.
That's right.
So that tells you, to me in a nutshell, how we're doing.
Should outsource it all, huh?
Mm.
You're almost making the argument to outsource all of this stuff, and just something to keep in mind when you guys are looking forward.
I understand.
Does anybody have any other questions to ask of Mike?
I present the figures. And
You outsource it, you're doing better.
Mike, on the inspections and everything,
I've written about it.
what I talked to you, Brad, about a month or so ago, or any courtesy calls being made, prior to making inspections,
I follow.
whether it be a restaurant or nursing type facility.
Right. I remember your question, and I forward that to Roy, who has had some conversations about it. And my understanding that has been worked out, but quite honestly, I can't relate to you the details of that right now. But I did not hear any more from it. And usually Roy he will follow up on those kind of issues and see to solve whatever, to bring to a resolution whatever concern there was.
Okay.
I don't know that we knew what the issue was. Did you all know that?
I mean, why would you make courtesy calls to people you're going to inspect?
Well, that's why I don't remember the outcome of what Roy.
So the patrol doesn't
what it
call me
was.
before they issue
Exactly.
a speeding ticket.
I think what the issue is.
That would be nice. Hey, you're speeding. We're going to
Exactly.
clock you when you get down the road. So.
The downside of, and I think I alluded to that in the memo, the downside of having outsourcing is that eventually you wear these folks out because they're working in other counties, and so they can't. That has a lifetime that is not
Right.
without end. The second, or the first, really downside, is that all these inspections are done in the evenings on the weekends, by and large, and so that puts the inspections at the time of sometimes the highest business. that's going on at the restaurant at a certain time. So it can be an inconvenience, but I will be glad, and I'm sorry I can't give you more details on it. I'll just have to check back with Roy. But that obviously would be something in inspections you really can't telegraph.
What are the interns that you're hiring? What are they going to be doing?
They will be. We tried for the best part of a year to recruit a fully authorized
Right.
environmental health specialist, and because of the statewide shortage, we were unsuccessful. The interns, by the way, the two that we've hired so far coming in November. One is a native Lee County person who is coming home.
What
to
are
stay.
they going to be doing? I don't.
Okay, all
I
right.
don't want to
They will be.
CV.
They will initially for about the first several months. They will be alternating between working with us in the field, learning, and also going to state-required training. And they should be authorized before next July 1 to begin inspections themselves. And so they're in the process. It takes about 2 years to become fully a registered sanitarian, but they can be authorized to perform those inspections hopefully before July 1 of next
Will
year.
you start phasing out these other
Yes,
contract
sir.
people?
Absolutely, and we're good. Our budget calculations show that we were good to go without going over exceeding our current budget in environmental health in this fiscal year, and then we will phase down those contract people. And the folks that we bring in are probably about, each of them is probably about 10,000 less than our former employees. So that's part of the way we can finish this year without exceeding the budget.
Okay. Anybody have any questions to ask of Mike? All right, Mike. Thank you very much.
Thank you all very much.
Ms. Price, you're going to be up here. BRAC update.
Good morning.
We have that meeting tonight at 7 o'clock, right?
Yes, and I would like to remind everybody of that meeting. It is at the Civic Center at 7. BRAC Executive Director Paul Dordahl will give a presentation, a PowerPoint presentation on BRAC and the impacts that it will have on our community.
Tim McNeil going to be there also?
He is supposed to be there. I'm hoping he will.
Okay. Is he going to, Paul, is he going to give the same statistical information that Tim McNeil gave at the town of Broadway? Because
I'm not sure.
you know, that's the one that people were very impressed with at the at the.
That was in a paper, right?
Right. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I'm assuming that if that is the only
The business
statistical
alliance.
information that they have.
You're talking about the business alliance, right?
Yeah.
Right.
I have not seen his presentation, but those
I
are
would
the only
imagine
statistics
so.
that he has, so I'm assuming that it would be very similar.
Yeah, concerning the number of additional flights and personnel and all, that'll all be included. Okay.
There have been no BRAC meetings since the last commissioners meeting, so I wanted to report that on Thursday, the BRAC RTF Executive Committee will meet at Fort Bragg. And on November 30th, the first meeting of the Infrastructure and Public Works Work Group meeting will be meeting at Fort Bragg. So that's the calendar for November.
Okay.
And that's all I have to report.
I was thinking there was a meeting tomorrow. It's not.
I think it's rescheduled. Was it rescheduled, the infrastructure?
Yeah, I was thinking there was one
Yes,
tomorrow.
that one has been rescheduled
I
to
got you.
November
Okay.
30th. I'm sorry, yes.
Okay, does anybody have any questions to ask? I urge everyone to be at that, at the Civic Center tonight at 7 o'clock. Okay, kids voting program.
Yes,
That was
This-
very interesting reading that in the paper.
yes, it was very successful. There were 1,214 students that voted in the kids voting program. The outcome of their election was very similar to the outcome of the real election. Having volunteered and worked at West Pocket Precinct, the children were very well informed. They were coming in there with notes in their hands concerning the candidates. I was very impressed with that. Some actually had sample ballots that they had talked about in school. I shared this with Mr. Smitherman. One little girl, she was pre-K, and she was there to vote, and her mother was wanting to help her. And she looked at her mom and she said, "Mom, I'll do this on my own." And the little girl goes to the voting booth, and she took her time, as if she was really studying what she had to do. And she was all through, and she stepped out, and she handed us her ballot. We put it in our ballot box, and she looked at her mom, and she said, "And now I'll help you." And she took her by the hand and walked to the back for the adult voting. So that was very interesting, but the kids were very well informed. I was most impressed with that. The teachers did an outstanding job of teaching that curriculum in their classroom.
Okay. I thought it was a great opportunity for the younger folks to
And this
get
came
involved with it.
because of Quest. It came from the Quest meeting.
And the poll workers and the adults, and there were even parents who had voted in the early voting and brought their children back to vote for kids voting. So it was very positively and well done.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner comments, Mr. Pascal.
No, sir.
Ms. Stevens?
Just to say that this being our last meeting together, I have enjoyed these last 4 years.
Good.
Sitting beside
Good.
you two. I will miss you
Chad?
greatly.
You're not leaving, are you?
She's not.
Chad?
Oh, no, just thanking everyone. I've enjoyed the time here, good and bad, and hope that, I do say one thing, just because I can't leave without a note, that I hope that this board will consider treating all 501c3s equally, because we don't, and I hope they will at some point in time.
Mr. Brown?
I too hate to see the two of you go. Both of you have done an outstanding job. And I wish you well, and you're not leaving the county, so you'll still be around. I appreciate that.
Thanks, Jerry?
I just want to say this has been a pleasure working with both of you. I think we've made some positive progress here in the county, and it takes a lot of work. I think, as each one of you know, but I think the county is poised in a good position right now, and I hope I can call on you sometime. Might need some extra advice.
We got a little extra time now, Herb and I do. So. We're easy
But
to find.
I wish you both well.
You'll find something to do. No one but
Okay. David, do you have anything?
I'd like to offer you both your nameplates, but I want you to only take the black part because we're going to reuse the base. We're trying to be frugal.
Oh, geez.
I'm just kidding.
Okay, let's adjourn for the, we ready for the work session?
Yes.